Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and we're having technical difficulties. I don't know what happened. Gone for a week, and I used OBS, and it just changed everything on me, like completely, and I screwed up my intro, everything. All right, well, hopefully I'll figure this out. I got to do a whole new way of changing screens and all that. That's going to be fun. But our guest tonight is Clete Keith. He's the author of Ghosts of Greystone, Beverly Hills. You're right, what's Greystone? Greystone Mansion. If you're not familiar with it, I know you've probably seen it in a lot of different movies. It's been in a ton of movies. Ghostbusters, Tube, The Big Lebowski, Death Becomes Her, the Muppet movie that was out recently in the last couple of years. It's been in a ton of movies for going way back, and a lot of ghost stories, and a suicide, maybe murder, suicide murder that happened way back in the 1929, I believe. A lot of ghost stories there. Clete is going to share those with us tonight, as well as some audio evidence. I cannot wait. You know I love EVPs. Hopefully we can get through these technical difficulties tonight. Sometimes this happens. Things change in settings or whatever, or gone for a week, and then boom, I come back and something's different. But we will open the phone lines up later in the show if you want to call in, ask questions of our guests, especially if you've been there. If you've been to Greystone, I'd love to hear your experiences there. And, of course, we got the World Wide Web of Weird and a lot of weird to get to. So let's go ahead and get rolling into the show. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight's guest, Clete Keith, will join us after the World Wide Web of Weird, after our first commercial break. Joining me, no technical difficulties on her side, let's hope. On my side, plenty, is Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing well, thank you.
Excited to talk to this guest. You're in California. You've never been to Greystone. But after I think tonight, you might want to go.
I'm already looking it up.
It's definitely on my bucket list of haunted places I'd love to investigate, just mainly because I'm a film buff, and the rich history of film that has been shot there would be an incredible experience. But it's got a lot of ghosts, it sounds, or at least a few very active ghosts. Also joining us from St. Augustine, Florida, is Rob Autry himself. How you doing tonight, Rob? Hopefully no technical difficulties on your side, as I don't hear him. You there, Rob? Rob? Oh, great. See? Oh, he's muted. You're muted on here. You muted yourself. Okay. He's saying, okay. Give me the thumbs up as long as everything's fine. I'm all worried now because I've started the show late. Thank you for everybody joining us. Thank you to everybody who shares the show out. And hopefully this is one of the first times people are watching. We usually don't have this problem. But we got a lot of weird to get to, so let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, I thought we'd kick off with an update on a story I think we carried 2 weeks ago when we were last on, is the Satan shoes. Satan. Not by Nike, as we pointed out, not by Nike. And I had said at the time that, oh, just wait, Nike will probably come down and shut this all down, because it was done by a artistic company for a little Nas, is that how you say it? Not by Nike. And I said they'd come down. Well, they did. They did. For those listening on our Paranormal Radio Network, you're not listening right now because I never hit live. See, we're just having a rhyme. So if you're just joining us on the Paranormal Radio Network, sorry we're late. We had technical difficulties, but you should be hearing us now. Everything's just going great tonight. Great. This happens when I leave for a week. That's what happens. We take time off, come back, and we're all rusty, and everything's not working right. But thank you for joining us on the Paranormal Radio app and on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. We are live, and we're going to start out now with an update on a story. Satanic shoes, or Satan shoes, to be recalled as Nike agrees to settle lawsuit. Nike says the art collection, which made Satan shoes that purposely contain a drop of human blood in the shoes, has agreed to issue a voluntary recall as part of the legal settlement. The $1,018 trainers are modified Nike Air Max 97s. Only 666 pairs were made, and all but one have been shipped. The collection of the MSCHF will offer full refunds to customers in order to remove the shoes from the circulation, Nike said. The settlement resolves a trademark infringement lawsuit by Nike, of course. They let them get away with all the other shoes they were doing for years until that. The controversial shoes were produced by the Brooklyn Collective in collaboration with rapper Lil Nas X, who held the last pair so he could choose the recipient. The MSCHF said it would keep the final pair of shoes. No further details were made public about the settlement, which includes the Jesus shoes produced by MSCHF in 2019, also using the Air Max 97 as a base. They didn't notice until they made up Satan shoes. MSCHF altered these shoes without Nike's authorization. Nike had nothing to do with the Satan shoes or Jesus shoes, Nike said in a statement. Limited edition shoes can fetch higher prices among collectors, so it's not clear how many, if any, customers will return the product. If those people spent $1,000 on those shoes, damn straight, they're keeping them. They're not going to get a single pair back, I bet.
No.
Do you think it's the 666 pair that they're keeping?
They're keeping the last pair, which would be the 666 pair, yes.
Yeah. I think Satan shoes just possessed my computer right there at the beginning.
She's great. That's what's going on with me. Satan.
Who could it have been? Let's see. I don't know. Let me think. Let me knock on Mr. Noggin. Who could trick us into doing that? Could have been Satan.
Probably. Small my technical difficulties tonight.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. We're already running behind here. Mystery Big Cat shows up on live TV in UK, and I don't cover all the Big Cat. There's a lot of Big Cat stuff in the UK. I thought this one's interesting. I can't play the video of it, but I got a picture of a screenshot from the live thing. You can go to Unexplained Mysteries and find a link to the actual Good Morning Britain video where that you see the Big Cat. Hopefully you can get that picture up.
Hopefully I can't.
You can't?
I am stuck where I'm at. Let me jump off of here and jump right back on.
All right. We're all having just such fun tonight. Okay, let me get my share cam up.
I thought it was just you.
Guess not. Guess not.
Let me try this. Is this going to work? Good.
All right. Let's see if...
Nope. That ain't going.
Nope.
Nope.
All right. Do you see it on my screen now? Or on the share screen? Do you see a picture I got up?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Mystery Big Cat shows up on live TV in UK. Viewers of Good Morning Britain, a popular morning television show in UK, were left scratching their heads the earlier today when they spotted something unusual skulking in the background of a live segment which was being filmed in the Rickmansworth Aquadome, if you say that, in Hertfordshire, England. During one shot, which saw the camera zoom in on a swan, it was possible to see a large black creature emerging from behind a tree in the background before heading off to the right. Presenter Andy Peters didn't notice it himself at the time, but when the viewers called in to the show to comment on the animal, he mentioned it in a large segment, later segment, which was also filmed at the lake. I have some breaking news of my own, he said. Earlier today, we were in very spot on Bury Lake in Hertfordshire, where viewers said that whilst I was doing the competition, they spotted a black-shaped creature on the banks, then walked off. We have had a look for you guys. We have looked around. We cannot see anything, but obviously you all spotted something on the shores. Could it have been someone walking, a dog? No, the word wolf has been used. It was not a dog. I don't know. And if you see it next to, I think there's some ducks down there. I mean, it could be just a cat, a house cat, maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think? Hopefully you're still there. I'm not live. We lost Rob. I got to add Rob back in. Okay. Fun tonight. Fun technical difficulties. All right, let's move on
It's
to
hard
the.
to tell. It could be a beaver. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of blurry.
Let me pull it back up. Take one last look at it. It almost has like that weird monkey look to the head, though. You know,
I
like those.
thought
I don't know
that's
what kind of
like the
monkey it
shoulders
is.
right
Isn't it?
here.
Yeah.
Like something about this part is almost like a what's it like? Not a badger or a hyena.
Yeah, I don't know. In the video, it looks weird the way it moves too, but I don't
so you
know
can
what
see
it is.
move.
Yeah, you do see it move in the video. Like I said, I couldn't share it because it was from Good Morning UK, but definitely check it out. I don't know. There's always something going on. That doesn't look like your normal black cat. The head's weird. I don't know what that is. It almost looks like I said, like a monkey, or like one of those. I don't know.
My first reaction was it looked like I thought a monkey.
All right, let's move on because we're running out of time. So I'm going through these stories a little bit quick tonight because we're running behind. So this one I'll probably go through quick here. Don't tell me I'm have technical difficulties with that. All right, next one. Humans could one day evolve venomous glands. This one unexplained mysteries as well. Scientists believe that our salivary glands have the potential to evolve the ability to produce deadly venom. I know some people that can definitely spit some venom. When it comes to predicting the future evolutionary changes to the human body, you might be tempted to imagine enhanced eyesight or larger brain. That'd be nice. But what about the ability to spit venom? According to a new study by scientists from the Oklahoma Institute of Science and Technology, Graduate University, and the Australian National University, our salivary glands could one day evolve to produce venom in much the same way as many other existing animal species. Oral venom systems evolved multiple times in numerous vertebrates, enabling the exploitation of unique predatory niches, the researcher wrote. Yet how and when they evolved remains poorly understood. By studying the genes linked to the release of the venom in animals, they found that the same genes and physical mechanisms were responsible for the release of both venom and saliva in various species. It's not just snakes, frogs, and spiders that produce venom either. Some animals do as well. While many snakes employ an oral venom system for securing prey, there's also animals such as the shrews and solenodods, I don't know what that is, that evolved oral venom systems based on salivary glands for pre-capture or defense. I didn't know a shrew had venom. So could humans evolve venom glands in the future? Well, while it seems unlikely this could actually happen, it's certainly not impossible. Well, yeah. I don't know if we'll evolve venomous glands, but there's going to be some, mad scientists, when we start cloning people, like, let's add some venomous glands to these super soldiers.
Yeah, like the Sims menu. Let's add the venom glands. Things like poison dart frogs, they get their venom, though, from the fire ants they eat. They don't actually produce it.
Really? I didn't know that. All right, learn something new every day. That's what we're doing. Next up, we've talked about this several times about Elon Musk. Love him and hate him, you're right? Some things he does, I'm like, oh, yeah, go Elon. Some of the things I'm like, oh, don't. Mad scientist. Well, this next one we've talked about a couple times. Monkey plays video games with its mind using Elon Musk's Neuralink. This came up in scientificmindset.com. Neuralink, a company founded by Musk that develops artificial intelligence-powered microchips to go into people's brains, released a video Thursday that appeared to show a macaque using the technology to play video games, including Pong. Musk has boasted about Neuralink's test on primates before, but this is the first time the company has exhibited one. During a presentation in 2019, Musk said the company allowed my monkey to control a computer with its brain. You can, again, I don't have the video of this, just a picture. You look it up, just type in, Elon Musk monkey playing video games, you'll find it. Following up on this claim, the company has now released a video of a 9-year-old macaque named Pager using a fully wireless brain machine interface to play the classic game Pong. They feed him treats and stuff through that tube you see him doing on, and then he plays. But he seems like he's controlling some of the wheel. But they say they're able to link into his brain and monitor. You watch the video on it. They can monitor his brain with that chip inside of it while he's playing. Yeah, Planet of the Apes.
That's creepy.
But actually, what it's leading to is they're going to start putting these in humans.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it gets crazy.
Well, yeah.
All right, we're going to run out of time. I want to move on. I got to check, though, really quick, see if Rob made it back. I can't do both. And no, Rob, that's not good. No. All right, let's go back. All right. Well, while he's putting chips in brains, now Neuralink co-founder Max Hodak claims and this is for Elon Musk's company Neuralink, claims the neurotechnology company could probably build a Jurassic Park if we wanted. So let's put chips in monkeys' brains and let's build Jurassic Park. Hold on to your butts. The co-founder, and this is from NewYorkPost.com, co-founder of Elon Musk's firm Neuralink says they have the technology to build a real live version of Jurassic Park. We could probably build Jurassic Park if we wanted to, Max Hodak tweeted Saturday. Wouldn't it be genetically authentic dinosaurs, but maybe 15 years of breeding and engineering to get super exotic novel species. This is like the script line to every, Jurassic Park horror movie. Hodak didn't elaborate on how his neurotechnology company might be able to revive the long extinct prehistoric beast, but he later championed the idea, claiming it could increasingly increase biodiversity. We don't need to increase biodiversity by adding dinosaurs. That's a bad argument. Yeah, no. Biodiversity is definitely valuable. Conservation is important and makes sense, Hodak tweeted. But why do we stop there? Why don't we more intentionally try to generate novel diversity? Dinosaur lives matter. That's going to be the model. But but they asked how he does it. They've been researching this for a while. Is chicken DNA and other species of DNA they say are related to dinosaurs. They could backwards engineer and create dinosaurs that way too. We're running out of time, so I got to keep moving here. Speaking of dinosaurs and fossils, yeah, what's up?
Just because we can doesn't mean we should.
Yeah, tell that to Elon Musk. Let's see, no Rob yet. Okay. Yeah, tell that to Elon Musk. Next up, on the Bigfoot front, we haven't any good Bigfoot stories in a while. Bigfoot hunter finds a fossilized thumb of a creature twice the size of a human. Bigfoot researcher and author Connor Flynn claims to have found a gigantic humanoid thumb bone fossil. He says this compelling evidence the legend of Sasquatch is true. A paranormal author claims to have found a fossilized remain of legendary creature Bigfoot in a creek in Florida. In a clip uploaded to Bigfoot Anonymous on TikTok, his TikTok page, Connor Flynn holds up the bone to the camera and shows it as much larger than his own digits. Connor, the author of Bigfoot Big Brother, explains, all right, this is a fossil I found in a local creek here in Marina, Florida. It's definitely a hominid thumb bone. It belongs to something that would have been much bigger than what I am, and for what I know, there is no hominid species other than Homo sapiens in Florida at the time. They just didn't evolve here. So if anyone else is ever wondering why they never found any remains of Bigfoot, well, they did just sweep under the, they didn't, what do you say? Well, they just swept them under the rug. There we go. Connor, narrating the video with a colleague, also explains that the bone is surprisingly heavy as well as large. We're pretty big guys, 6 foot, 6'3", and this is about twice as big as our thumb bone. It's heavy too, very heavy. It's very old. Well, if it's fossilized, I mean, it could be really old. There's Gigantopithecus. Now that was, I think, Gigantopithecus was more like East Asia. They found like the teeth of, like in Tibet or something, like the molars. And a jawbone maybe a little bit of, but they didn't really find anything else. And it was extrapolated from there that had to be this giant ape creature we don't know much about. But could he have been in Florida too? Could it be that old? If he found it, he should be taking it to some scientists to check it out.
For sure.
All right, we'll move on to the last one here. And hopefully we get Rob back. Let me check one more time here. And there's Rob. All right. Move my share screen. I'll put your share screen up. There's the bone. Okay. Now can you switch to the last one?
Yeah. I mean, man, I don't know what the hell's been going on.
There you go. Sex robot clones of dead partners created with 3D scans could walk and do more. I think cuts off the title of the article. I just like the picture of the mouth. It's got a pretty mouth, that robot.
Yes.
This is from Daily Star. Sex robot clones or dead partners created with 3D scans could walk in near future. Exclusive. Luke Boddock's artists would use sophisticated modeling to create a mold and place a skeleton inside it. They're also hoping to create a sex robot that truly walk on their own in the near future. Mm-hmm. A sex robot company is offering clones that can replace dead partners using groundbreaking 3D modeling, the Daily Star could reveal. Manufacturer Luxbotic says it produces ultra-realistic humanoids and advertises a flagship model called Stephanie. Is that Stephanie's pretty mouth? She comes with a speech control, a facial recognition function, and artificial intelligence capabilities. However, customers who want a more familiar companion are able to recreate loved ones. Initially, a 3D model would be created using a sophisticated modeling before being printed or in very fine resolution. Luxbotics can also collect photos of the individual, but the end product would not be as realistic. So a 3D scan, of course, would make it realistic. so they can bring the dead body. Like, she just died. Can you scan this?
Wait, does that mean that any like creep then can take your picture and all that and have like you 3D made into like a doll?
That you're getting to my punchline. That's what I was going to say. What you know? I mean, are they going to have like some kind of like somebody sends them a picture of Scarlett Johansson, like this is my wife who deceased. You know, I mean, they're going to stop the line there. I mean, because you know there are going to be some people doing it for celebrities, and then like you said, people they would have no idea if you're sending it in for somebody, some random person, you're somebody stalking. That's a creepy idea.
Erica plays along.
Whoa, what was that?
My computer, man.
Our possessed computers tonight? Yeah, mine's possessed too.
It's because it's a new moon tonight.
The artists involved are expected to charge $5,000 for one model, while the printing would cost $3,000 to $5,000. The mold would set customers back an additional $5,000. So we're talking $10,000, $15,000 for one of these things. Lexbot co-founder Bjorn told the Daily Star, "We can make robots that talk, but we have not made robots." Oh, then my article disappeared. Daily Star.
Little pretty mouth thing.
Dang it. I lost the spot where I was reading. We hope to develop this in the near future. We can make a large number of body parts that can move in a realistic manner. What was it saying? We can make robots talk, but we have not made robots that can truly walk on their own yet. Yeah, but it's coming.
Oh, if they do that, that'll be a whole nother thing.
Mm-hmm. They don't need to walk. They just need to lay there, right?
Oh.
I just don't get people that have sex with dolls. And it's the same. To me, there's no different than having a sex with robots. Okay, fine. Now it talks to you. Now it can do all that. It can almost be totally real, but you're having sex with a machine. It's gross. No judgments if you do.
Hey, it's the new world, man.
And who could it have been? Let's see, I don't know. Let me think. Let me knock on Mr. Noggin. Who could trick us into doing that? Could have been Satan.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Satan's involved. I think just a lot of lonely people. But that's it for the World Wide Web Weird. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Tonight, our guest is Clete Keith. He will be talking about his book, Ghosts of Greystone, Beverly Hills. And like I said, if you're not familiar with this mansion, I bet you are. At least you've seen it. It's been in a ton of movies, and I can't wait to talk about it. It's got a murder mystery kind of to it and a number of other deaths and hauntings, and we got some audio evidence later to share, and we will open up the phone lines later. But that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. We're going to go to our first commercial break. We'll come back. Clete Keith, Ghost of Greystone of Beverly Hills.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It's called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Certificate A. Now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The night is alive. Join us and take a walk on the weird side when you tune in to the Kingdom of Nye, hosted by Heather Wade, the finest in late night talk. Listen live free weeknights starting at 9 p.m. Pacific time at thekingdomofnye.com, talkstreamlive.com, and the Paranormal Radio app. Wanna take a ride?
The international chart-topping, haunted horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest, the true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
Do you like rock and roll? Do you enjoy a good story? Wish You Were Here, A Rock Fantasy, is a book inspired by Badfinger. It will not only entertain you, but intrigue you. What is it about? Well, Thomas is searching for his bandmate and friend in heaven, and in spirit has helped pen this story. He meets an old friend and famous new ones on his afterlife voyage. Midwest Book Review said, Wish You Were Here, A Rock Fantasy, is a book inspired by Badfinger. It's a quirky story by Joyce S. Isaacson and is unique, original, and deftly crafted metaphysical novel that showcases the author's genuine flair for character and narrative-driven entertainment that is simply riveting from first page to last. Wish You Were Here, A Rock Fantasy is now available on pennantpublication.com, amazon.com in paperback and hardcover, and also on Kindle Unlimited. So check it out now. Wish You Were Here, A Rock Fantasy.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe. 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Clete Keith. He's the author of Ghosts of Greystone, Beverly Hills. Clete Keith never had the thoughts of writing a book, let alone one on the paranormal. He was not someone totally convinced in the existence of ghosts or spiritual hauntings until he started working at Greystone Mansion in Beverly Hills. After 22 years in a retirement looming, he woke up one night at 3 o'clock with the idea of writing a book about all the stories he's heard as well as his own experiences. These eyewitness accounts detail supernatural activities and historical narratives connected to the Doheny Estate, what most people like to call Greystone Mansion. Ghosts of Greystone, Beverly Hills is not just a collection of ghost stories, but a landmark expose of eyewitness accounts detailing supernatural activity associated with extraordinary location. Like I said, if you're not familiar with Greystone Mansion, like it's been in movies, you've probably seen it. You wouldn't know. You know, I think even in Ghostbusters 2, they used it as the mayor's office. And that's in New York. This is in Beverly Hills. Movie magic. We got all that to talk tonight with our guest, Clete. But you can call in later in the show, probably after the next commercial break. We will open up the phone lines. But we've got audio evidence to get to, a lot of good stuff. So let's go ahead and get to our guest. All right. Now I got to make sure I can add my guest here. Are you there with us, Clete?
I am.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't have any more technical difficulties I had at the beginning of the show. We'll solve smooth sailing from here. All right. So I just started reading the book. I've been working on remodeling my kitchen. Usually I can finish a book, before the show. Sometimes I get halfway through. I just started this, but I am familiar with Greystone as being a paranormal investigator and a movie buff. It's definitely on my bucket list of places I've always loved to visit and investigate. So for you, I don't know if you want to start with the history of Greystone Manor, or we want to get into what got you involved in it.
Yeah, we can talk about that. How I got involved originally was I actually was an actor quite some time ago, and I was working on one of the worst films ever made, and
dare I ask?
Well, I don't know, man. It really is horrible, but it turned into like a cult kind of thing. It was called Cabin Boy. Have you ever heard?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Rob's got it. He's got it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really a horrible film. But I was working on visual effects and stuff on that, and I remember one day they asked me. We were working, I think it was up in Santa Clarita at one of the sets, and I said, "Where are you guys going?" And they said, "We're going to go to Greystone." And I said, "What is that?" They said, "It's a big mansion in Beverly Hills." They didn't talk about it being haunted or anything. I knew nothing about it. So I said, "Okay, cool." And then only later to find out that, I was, about 4 or 5 years later, I was hired by the city to start working on events throughout the city, along with, I was based out of Greystone. So I had an office there. Yeah. So I had an office, and it was my home base for 22 years. So, and I wasn't into the paranormal, Jason. That was not my thing. I knew a couple things that had happened to my parents, and to a couple friends, things that took place. One other thing that happened to me early, but it wasn't something that I focused on, like, oh God, I'm really into the paranormal. I just happened to land at that location, and it became, gradually, it became a passion of mine just because I was surrounded by all this paranormal activity.
Right.
Yeah. So it was, listen, if you're into the paranormal, obviously, which you are, it's like a paranormal Disneyland.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, well, not only that. I mean, just not. A lot of people sometimes they get into I've worked with a lot of different ghost hunters or paranormal investigators. A lot of them are in it. They want the paranormal activity, but a lot of them are into it because they also love history. Mm-hmm. And I mean, what was built in 1927.
Yeah. So what happened was. I'll give you a brief history so you don't.
And we get it later. Yeah.
Yeah. You can, but E.L. Edward Lawrence Doheny came from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and he came out to L.A. He was looking for gold, and did not find gold out in L.A. And eventually was turned on to the fact that there was oil in L.A. And so he and his friend Charles Canfield, they purchased a small little lot near downtown LA, and very small. And they decided they were going to dig and try to find oil on this lot. And with a pick and a shovel, they dug down 155 feet. So think of that, first of all, digging with a pick, that's 15 stories down.
Wow.
They dug down 155 feet, but it doesn't end there, because they went out and they found a eucalyptus tree, a straight eucalyptus tree, cut it down and put the one end and carved it into like a drill bit.
Yeah.
Brought it back. I don't know how they utilized it, because they had to drop it down the 15 stories with some kind of rope apparatus. And they kept digging, and they went down 450 feet.
Wow.
45 stories down. I don't even know how this is possible. This is true.
Yeah.
And they hit oil. So once they hit oil, they were able to bring up 7 barrels a day the first day. Then it became more and more and more, to where they started making a lot of money. They went down to Tampico, Mexico. He hit a 600-foot geyser. That's 60 stories. It's one of the largest ever.
Yeah.
He capped it in 2.5 weeks. He became a billionaire when a penny meant something overnight. So it became the Rockefellers and the Dohenys. And he came back, he bought 450 acres in that area, which was Beverly Hills, but he purchased 450 acres there. Of that 450 acres, he also had other land, but of that 450 acres, he gave his son, Ned, who was married to a woman, Lucy, and had 4 boys and a daughter, Lucy, and he gave them 12.58 acres of that 450 acres of land to build a home. Ned, his son, ended up building Greystone on that property, and it was at that time it became like, they called it the Hearst Castle of Southern California.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they started it, like you said, Jason. They started in February, I think it was 15th, 1927. They started building. It's 46,000 square feet.
Holy God.
55 rooms, 67 altogether, meaning there are walk-in closets and things there as well. There's the family room, the servants, the recreation wing, which has the hidden bar. Did you see There'll Be Blood?
I've not seen that. I've seen pieces of that movie, but I've not watched it full through, and I need to.
Yeah, so once, when you get a chance, check that movie out with Daniel Day-Lewis, because the very ending and parts within that are inside Greystone, the mansion itself. The ending of it is the bowling alley at Greystone. And that's Paul Thomas Anderson, when he showed up looking as to whether, remember the idea of There'll Be Blood was based on a book, Oil, by Upton Sinclair, which they say was based on the Doheny family. So he wanted to shoot something at Greystone. So he came up to Greystone, and when he walked into the bowling alley, and it was a wreck, it was just a box that was all torn down. And at the far end were these pin sets. And from what I have been told, there are only 2 left in the world, Brunswick pin sets from that era. And he looked at it and said, "We're shooting here." So part of the deal was for us is that whatever they put in there to leave.
Stayed.
Yeah. But then and we took money off of that, but they had to leave that stuff there. So it allowed us to get some work done in the bowling alley. And so the family, once it was being built, and this is pretty crazy too, in that when they started the building in 1927, February 15th, 1927, by September of 1928, now think of that. So they're starting in February of 27. By 28 September, they were able to move into that house.
Wow.
It's 46,000 square feet. It's poured concrete, just because Gordon Kaufman, who also did the Hoover Dam and the LA Times building out here, which was reinforced concrete as well, he poured concrete for this home, which is obviously not done anymore. but it's reinforced concrete, and it's like a fortress.
It had to be a lot of concrete. I mean, a lot
of concrete, and there
real
are
quick,
photos. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Clete,
Yeah.
I'm getting echo from you
Okay.
now. Darn it! I don't know.
Okay.
We were getting that when we had you on Skype for a minute before.
Okay.
Now it seems like it's come back. Testing. Now I don't hear it.
Okay.
I
You
went
cool?
away. Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Good. Might
So-
be back and forth. Go ahead.
Okay, it's just one of those nights, right?
Yes.
So they used reinforced concrete, and they faced this building with Indiana limestone. And as we know,
Yes.
limestone is a conductor of energy, right? The Stanley
Yes.
Hotel, where Stephen King wrote
Oh yeah.
The Shining, that whole hotel is built on limestone. So it's the walls are 3 feet thick, very thick. It's just like a fortress, and the roof is Welsh slate, and outside the slate on the ground out there is from Vermont, that's used in the courtyards and the walkways. So it is a mansion that is like a fortress. And once the family moved in September 1928, at a cost of the mansion itself was $1.2 million back then, and altogether like 3.1 back then is now compared to about 46 million today.
As I say, that's a lot of money for back then. Hey, Rob, will you pull up the picture of the book, or I also have a picture of the mansion, just so give people an idea of what we're talking about here. Like
Yeah.
I said, this has been in a ton of more of the inside. I don't, of this. They've used the inside of quite a bit and outside exterior in a lot of different movies.
Yeah.
When did that start? They started using it as a movie prop.
Well, what happened
place,
was,
location.
What happened was once Mrs. Doheny, so they moved in September. I'm going to jump back a little bit, Jason, okay? If that's okay.
Yeah.
They moved in September of 28, and 4 months later, basically February 16th of 1929, so only like 4 months later, he was dead inside the house. So he was only there like 4 months. And with that being said, Mrs. Doheny stayed there until 1955, and she sold the mansion to a man named Henry Crown, who worked on the Empire State Building. That was his account, and so she moved next door, which they owned as well, which they called the Knoll, and built a home over there, which is poured concrete, and so she lived there, eventually moved up to Ojai with her husband, who was ill by then in the later years. And so once Henry Crown purchased it, he stayed in Chicago. They say that he bought it with the idea of maybe they would move in, and his wife said, hell no. So they didn't move in. I'm not sure if that's the case. I think he had just a lot of holdings and things in Chicago, so he stayed there. So he just rented it out to film companies, allowed film companies to come in and shoot, which they did. Tons of film companies. And the worst thing about it was that, remember, it's now an historic site. And you can see that the photo there. It's like it is that creepy, by the way. It really is. Does. Just like, oh my God. And it's, it looks. You go there during the day, you drive by, and you go, oh wow, what a lovely little home up there. At night, everything changes, and I mean literally, the vibe changes. It's just I can't tell you how creepy it becomes and how scary it can be. Anyway, so once he had it, he also had film companies come in, and they ruined this place. It wasn't a historic site. Now it's an historic site. Back then, it was like, they could go in, and film companies would tear the place up. You know how film companies are. They go in, drill into the walls, tear the place up. And so that's what was taking place. And eventually, and I think from 69 to 82, they rented, the city came along and purchased it. Beverly Hills purchased for Henry Crown, and they rented it out to the AFI, American Film Institute, for $1 a year. And that was from 69 to 82. And when they went in there, they tore that place up. Now, granted, again, it's not a historical site, right? So they went in and like within the living room, in the bowling alley, they built walls and made them screening rooms and editing rooms, all that stuff, and pretty much ruined it. So right now the city is in the middle of refurbishing a lot of it. Like when I was in December, this last December, they were redoing the theater, and I mean it looks incredible.
Are they they're trying to put it back to? Whoa, there's that
well,
dang echo.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Are they trying to put it back to its like original look?
Yes and no.
Doheny?
Yeah. Yes and no. They like the ceiling had water damage and everything. So, but they took some areas that were not damaged and had them refabricated to look exactly like it used to. The seats that were in there for the children to watch plays on the stage, those seats eventually put in by AFI from, I think, a movie theater or something like that. Those were all torn out. It's all been redone. It is so beautiful, but it's not the same. And during the renovation, the spirits were not happy. And I kid you not, man, because I was there and I had a lot of it in the book. I would ask, once they started doing the renovation, I went to the head guy who was running the renovation there. And I said, listen, I know this is going to sound odd, but this location, I tried to be kind of, I didn't want to say ghost. This location is active. And he's looking at me like, active? I said, well, there are things that happen here that are kind of unexplainable. He goes, what are you saying, man? I said, well, okay, it's haunted. I mean, this place is haunted. He goes, okay, whatever, man. Well, eventually he came to me and said, can I talk to you? and he had his own thing that happened to him. I became friends with him. And I said, will you please do me the favor? Because it's not going to stop with you. Things will continue as long as you're here. And when you hear that from your workers, you get a hold of me. My office is right there, right off the theater. It's up above in the firehouse. Just come to me and let me know. So I would show up and I'd hear, Clete. And I go, hey, Christian, how are you? He goes, can I talk to you a minute? I go, yeah, what's up? And he goes, go talk to Rob. And I'm like, what? Which one's Rob? The guy over there in the corner. Go talk to him. I said, okay, man. And I would hear these stories from these guys because they're just showing up to do whatever it is, fix the electrical, pull out the seats, do whatever it is their thing there is. They were doing it and then they would leave. But while they're there, things would happen. And I mean, wild stuff would take place and they would come out and just like they'd shaking their head like, what the hell is going on at this place? So that part was a lot of fun for me because they didn't believe me. And then suddenly everybody's coming to me saying, hey, man, let us know what's going on here because this is nuts. So it was cool.
What it reminds me of, I watched a show, they've had 2 seasons now on BBC called Ghosts. And I think it was this last season they had an episode, and it's like a big old mansion in England. And they had this episode where a film crew comes in to film and use the location, and the ghosts, of course, aren't happy about it, and then some love it. But that's what I keep picturing in my mind, like these spirits that I have to be witnessing movie history, honestly.
Yeah.
But watching them like totally obliterate this mansion, not being kind at all. I mean, I'm sure there was like original, you got all the original nice craftsmanship and woodwork that was built into that home when it was first originally done. I'm sure the producers were not kind at all.
No, they didn't care. I mean, that wasn't their focus. Their focus is get the film done. And I understand that. And they haven't been told this eventually will be an historic site. So they're just like, let's just get this done. But part of it was that there are stories in the book about a ranger, a woman. And it happened to several rangers that worked there. A lot of the stories are about rangers because they're the ones with access to the mansion, right?
Especially at night.
But back then, back in the early days, even when I started working there in like 99, 98, you didn't go inside that mansion. Nobody went in unless Yeah. So it was locked. And if you had to go in, you went in because your manager or somebody said, hey, go in there and check and make sure all the windows are closed, or go in there and check whatever downstairs because they think there might be a door that's an old door that they need to use on something else. Okay. Other than that, you didn't go inside. So my feeling is that when you went inside, the spirits in there, and they're there, would go like, hey, somebody's coming through the front door. And so whoever it was that walk in there, they would feel stuff because they're surrounding them going like, who is this? Nobody comes in here. And there are two rangers at separate times in the life at Greystone where they had filming. And this one woman, I think her name is Lighty, she would go up, when you do film shoots, they come and they do a scout, and then they come in once it's okayed and everybody's going to shoot there, they finally make up their mind. Then they have a major scout where everybody comes in. It's the DP, it's the director, it's the set designer. It goes on tons of people.
Yeah.
So once that's set up and they're going to be coming in, this one ranger would go to the director and the DP and say, look, we've talked about the scout, what you want to do inside the mansion. We see, we've gone through everything because they write everything down. We want to do this when we enter that front door in that one scene. Okay, you can do that, but you can't do this. Oh, no problem. Well, she would go back and say, okay, now we have everything laid out, how it's supposed to go. They go, yeah. Well, then they start shooting and things change, as we all know.
Yeah.
But sometimes they do it just because they didn't talk to her about anything. And her point was, I need you to tell me exactly what you do. If there are any changes, you have to tell me because I have to talk to Ned and let him know.
Oh.
And they'd say, I'll talk to Ned. Where is he? She goes, no, just tell me and I'll talk to Ned. And they said, look, I take it he's your boss. Just have him come up here. I'll talk to him. She goes, well, he's not my boss. Well, then who is he? Well, he used to live here. and so what does that mean? He's a spirit here. Oh, come on, man. Come on. And let me tell you, Jason, when they did things like, she has a story there about they hung a huge rug when you first walk in the grand entry to the right. Huge walls, way up there. They go up 2 stories.
Yeah.
They would just go up there and hammer like a rug in there for a design for the shot. Well, they didn't tell her. And so she's like, why is that up there? Oh, we needed something on that wall, but you didn't tell me. So what? This happens. No, this is not good. What do you mean it's not good? Something's going to happen. I'm sorry, but something's going to happen. And on that shoot, they went through 3 generator trucks. Now, that's unheard of. They're huge trucks, and that's what they do. They come in, you start them up, and they run all the lights, all the stuff. They went through 3 of them. They just kept shutting down. Cameras would freeze. Everything. She said they lost 1 full day of shooting because they didn't come to her and say, we're going to do this. And Ned was pissed. So stuff like that would happen during film shoots. And there's many, many other stories that are even crazier than that would take place. So, yeah.
Did she just decide like she would notice stuff happening and she found a way to like just talk out loud to Ned in a way to like try to calm things down, basically?
Her quote to me was, I guess I talked to ghosts for a living. Because she said, I would go in there and say, Ned, there's going to be filming here, and they're going to be doing, like over on this wall here, they'll be doing this. They're going to go inside this other door over there. So, I just want you to know that so that you don't get upset. She would literally do that. And when they would change their mind, and they did in the living room, she told me, there was this other guy, Brendan, he told me a story that they changed the handles on the 2 doors in the living room. It used to be like a bar, I think, that, one of those bars like at the movie theaters where you push the bar and opens the door. They had those kind of things on there. Well, the design team came in, took those bars off, and put door handles on there. And she walked in and she said she nearly screamed and went, "Oh my God, what did you do?" And they go, "What? You the handles? You changed?" They go, "Yes, yeah, so what?" She goes, "Oh my God, this is you can't do that." You go, relax. Well, they always take Polaroid films of the setups for everything so she says, you made a huge mistake. You've done it. He goes, relax. He starts to take, as he's getting ready to take the photo, she said a mist starts forming around the door handle.
Oh, wow. Imagine like she could see with her physical eyes?
Yes, and so could he. And she said it looked almost like a misty saran wrap that went around the door handle.
Wow.
And he took a photo with the Polaroid. It starts, it takes a little while to come out. He looks at it. It's not there. She goes, just watch. Boom, there's the mist. They could not shoot there. He had to replace it with the original handles. No more mist.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how serious it was with the spirits there. So
it's serious. I mean, I've only had like a couple times as a paranormal investigator, I've actually seen with other witnesses like that kind of mist, that I've seen a full body apparition. Right? Yeah, but it's only a couple of times since 2008, since I've been investigating, that I've seen it. And it's both times some very powerful stuff, and there was a lot of negativity involved with both. So I think she had some unhappy spirits there for changing the door handle.
Oh, you bet. Yeah, and I had that happen one time. I was in the house, and do you know of an investigator named Rob Ledarsky?
Yeah, I know the name. I haven't had him on the show. I do know the name.
You should have him on the show. He's a friend of mine, and this guy's done hundreds upon hundreds, if not 1,000, investigations. And he became a friend, and he had some things happen to him at Greystone. In fact, his account of being there that night, he wrote it up for us, which is pages and pages for what happened that night. And at the end of it, he ends it with, on the scale of 1 to 10, Greystone is a 15. Because that night, I was downstairs looking around, and the investigators had gone upstairs to the second floor landing, which is really active up there. And I hear them start screaming. I'm like, oh, shoot. So I'm like, what? I run up the grand entry. I run up the stairs. I go up to the second floor landing, and they go, oh, my God. I guess ectoplasm was forming on the second floor landing.
Oh, wow.
And the spirit was trying to form itself. And then it just disappeared when I ran up the stairs. So I never saw it. But they were like, oh, my God. And he's very meticulous with his notes. And I've done 4 or 5 investigations at Greystone, because every couple of years he called, is there any way we can get back in there? Because that place is nuts. So if I could work it out, I would just say, yeah, let's do it. So we go in, and man, he has the abilities as well. So he has these certain like psychic abilities. So he picks up on things and hears things and feels things, but he has also seen things with another ranger friend of mine that are astounding. They both saw it at the same time, so I knew it was real. So he's incredible. You should get him on.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to hear, especially about his experiences there. I mean, you said, it's built with a limestone. I'm in Indiana. I know all about the Indiana limestone.
There you go. Yeah.
And I've had Dr. Barry Taff on, and we've talked about the effects of limestone and electromagnetic activity, and how it could be fueling these things, or some kind of connection to it. And here, this thing's huge.
Yeah.
The amount of energy that's got to be there from just the history alone, but the location and like you said, it's a paranormal Disneyland.
Yeah, and it's like, here's the crazy thing about Greystone. First of all, we don't know what happened prior to Greystone being built on that land, right?
Yeah, you don't know what it was before it was that land, or
no? It was just basically, remember, you're at that time, it was just like barren land that went up to a hill. And that's why he wanted to build his house up on the hill. But prior to that, were there Indians who were there?
Right.
Were the Mexicans probably owned that land? Were there anything paranormal going on at that time with them? I don't know. But I will say this, that we've had stories of It's so crazy. We've had stories of a woman who was there for a film shoot who had to be a security guard at the one gate. It's called the 905 gate, which is one of the entrances off of Loma Vista Drive into the park. And she was there that night, and she hears this clip clop. It's like 11 or 11:30 at night, dark night. She's by herself down at that one gate, and she hears clip clop, clip clop, clip clop, and she's looking around like, what is that? And she looks up to the top of the hill because she's at the bottom of the hill, and around the corner comes a guy on a horse. And
wow.
She said he looked Hispanic. She's Hispanic herself. I did this through an interpreter.
Yeah.
And she said he had a big sombrero on, so you couldn't see his face. But she said the horse was so beautiful. And so, and I'll continue the story, but the next day she was asking one of the gardeners who's Latino, saying, do you have rangers on horses here at night?
Yeah.
He's like, no. And she's like, oh, no, I didn't think so. Well, it turns out she did think so. And it comes around the corner and it starts coming down the hill toward her. Now imagine this. Now she doesn't think it's a spirit. She thinks it's a guy on a horse. And it's coming toward her, big sombrero. He had chaps on because she couldn't see his legs, but he had chaps on. The horse was white and gray, beautiful. He starts down the hill, gets maybe 2/3 down the hill toward her, and pulls the horse back and stops. Now think about this. Even if, let's say you think it's somebody that's not a spirit, and they stop and they're just kind of looking at you, that's enough to freak you out anyway, right?
Right.
But his sombrero is tilted down, so you can't see a face. It's just the horse and this guy stopped down 30 yards from him. So she's just staring at like, what's going on here? And she turns her flashlight on, and the guy does a little move with the horse, and he turns right. He goes off that road onto this other, it's like a cement steps that go down and lead away from the opening there literally down toward the stables where they had horses and the garages where they kept their cars. And so she runs up the hill with her flashlight. When she gets up to the hill and points the flashlight at this guy on a horse, the flashlight goes out. She's shaking it like, what's going on? It's not working. He turns the corner. Now she can't see him, and the light comes back on. So is that someone that was from 100 years ago, 150 years ago, that's still there on his horse? So you have that, but you also, so we you know, are there any paranormal things from the Hispanics that were there, from Indians that possibly could have been there? But they're also, it's not just, which we'll get into at some point, not just the murder-suicide that took place within the home. There are quite a few murders and suicides other than that have taken place at Greystone.
Yeah, I want to get into that tonight. I love that stuff. I love true crime for one, and just the first one we'll talk about. We'll probably do it after the commercial break.
Yeah.
The Doheny, Ned Doheny and
Hugh Plunkett. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love the murder mystery, and this one's still a mystery. It's still a mystery, and I love that. I do even have some of the photos from the crime scene. I don't know if I'll show them because they're pretty graphic.
They are graphic,
But we're late at night. We might.
Yeah,
I don't know. We do some true crime stuff on here, but that's what I love. I love the mysteries and stuff like that. And one of the things you have to ask, because you're talking about seeing the woman seeing the guy on the horse and the sombrero hat. Is that Indian that was there? I mean, do you think that could also been a movie? Like I love time slips. The idea of time slips. That's what her experience reminds me of a number of time slip stories. I call them. People have had these experiences where they see like soldiers from another war on land and houses and buildings that don't exist or somebody there. That's what hers kind of reminds me of, because you're talking about a guy and a horse. Is that a residual, a replay? And could it have been from when they shot a movie there with a guy wearing a sombrero horse? Did you know if they shot any movies that might relate to that?
Yeah, I don't think so. I do think you're correct. I think it is a residual haunting, but then when she turns the light on, he goes away. he sees the light and he pulls the horse and goes away. So that's almost like it's not residual then. Because,
well, maybe it has to do with the fabric of reality ripping there. You know what I'm saying? I love time slip. Sorry, but that's what it reminds me of, the time slip, because you said she tried to turn the flashlight on the first time, right, and it wouldn't turn on.
Correct. Well, it came on, but then once she turned it on, he turned the horse away. So then when she ran up to get a closer look with the light, then it went off. Until he was out of view, then it came back on.
Wow.
Yeah.
See that. The residual time slips, are they related? I love those things because I love the idea of somebody slipping into another time like that.
Hey, Jason. This is a little off topic of Greystone, but
it's all right.
I lived in a house. I'm going to try to be careful with this here. I lived in Beverly Hills in the back of a huge house right on Sunset in Beverly Hills with the big homes. I rented a place from the wife of a famous musician. That's all I'm going to say. I will say next door is Madonna. I used to hear she and Guy Ritchie arguing all the time. But the deal is that this woman also has a 14-acre home in England. And she told me, and it's like a 4-story home. And she told me that she would look out the window of her home out, and she has a lake out there. This is people with cash. She looks out the window and there's a lake, and she would see suddenly these little kids playing on a swing and running over and jumping on it, laughing, and then started over again, running over and jumping.
Like a rewind.
Yeah. It was like exactly what you just said. It was like a slip in time. And I said, what was this home that you have? What was it? She goes, it was a hospital in World War II.
Wow.
So, and she said she would hear ghosts walking up and down the hallways at night. And she said, do you want to come over? I said, no, I'm good.
I'd be like, yes, I do.
I know you would. I work in Greystone. I don't need more. So, I mean, that is like a slip in time. That's a residual haunting. So it was a ghost loop, you know?
Yeah. There's a lot of those in Europe and England and France. There's a lot of these instances of people like just literally walk into another time frame. And what I find so interesting of it, because you talk about residuals and spirits. We're going to get into the intelligent spirits. Obviously, like the stuff happening with Ned in the house, that'd be an intelligent. Ned's there. But the time slips or residuals that they, like there's the guy and the horse. It's reproducing that. Reproducing kids playing, reproducing buildings. That's what I'm so fascinated. Like, is this just a, reality replaying itself? Is this actual time slippage? That's what I love about it. That's a whole other mystery.
There's another story, and we'll get into it at some point if you want to later on or whatever. But there's another story that's even crazier than that horse, the guy and the horse, that happened to a friend of mine who still works for the city. I won't say his name, but
was it like time slippy?
I'm going to say yeah.
Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get into that. I want to hear that. Yeah, we're talking about time slips. I love it.
Okay. So it took me 3 years to get all these stories, right?
Yeah.
Like 86 different people with 230, 50 stories, whatever.
Wow.
So I would, at that point in time, when I decided I'm going to do this, because I knew I was going to leave at some point, I just wanted these stories for me. I was just going to do it for me. Because I kept hearing from everybody talk about it. I go, God, I got to write that down someday, man. And so I was at the credit union, and a buddy of mine who works for this, I'll just say his name is David. And I see him in the credit union. And I said, David. And he goes, hey, man, how are you doing, Clete? I said, good. He said, what's going on? I said, nothing. I said, hey, wait a minute. I have never asked you, because he worked with me at Greystone. He worked in a trailer down below by the stables, by the car garages. That was his office for maybe 10 years or so. And I never talked to him about spirits or ghosts or anything, but I said, I've never asked you if you ever had anything happen to you. And he just stares at me, and I go, uh-oh, wait a minute. He goes, you know what? I have to get my he wanted to get out. I have to get my money out of the credit. I go, no, wait. Come on, man. Come on. I've known you a long time. Why don't we so did something happen? He's like, yeah. I said, okay, can we just please, come on, man. Just tell me, we don't have to make it a big deal. Just give me a couple minutes. Well, it turned out to be 17 minutes he gave me. And we went outside in the parking lot. And it's just part of the thing with the book, Jason, is that when the stories that are in there, I got as many people back to Greystone that I could. A lot of them didn't want to go back because they were really frightened. They were really scared.
Yeah.
And I would take them back. There's one gal had something horrifying happen to her down the basement. Didn't want to come back. I got her to come back, and I took her down the basement. And
My man.
Just to see her reaction, because I knew it was terrifying to her. And same with another buddy of mine who had something happen down there. And when we did that interview, you see in their face what happened to them that night, because they're reliving it, right? So
Right.
Dave and I are out in the parking lot. And I said, well, tell me what's up, man. Just tell me what happened. He goes, I don't want to. I go, it's okay. Listen, you can tell me. I won't tell anybody. I mean, I'll we'll keep it between us unless you allow me to put it in a book or whatever. And he's like, I've never even told my wife. His wife didn't know the story until the book came out.
Oh, wow.
That's how much he didn't want anybody to know. Nobody in the city knew. Then they're all going up to him. What the hell are you talking about? So his story is in Beverly Hills, right around Christmas time, what they do is they have a team of gardeners that go out, and on Rodeo Drive, the famous Rodeo Drive, in a one-night opportunity, they will go in there, take all the flowers out of the medium that's down Rodeo Drive, and replace it with poinsettias and all that stuff. And the next morning, it's Christmas, right? That's
Right.
part of their gig. So he said he'd worked all day getting all the plants ready to put them in, started doing that, and then it became right around 2:00. And he's like, said, I'd been there all morning. I was exhausted. I just wanted to go back to my office and sit for two hours maybe. And then his next group would be coming in, and he'd have to, 5:00, head back down and finish all the extra little mulch and things to make it look nice. So he drives up the Greystone. Remember, he said nothing ever happened to him. Drives up the Greystone, goes into the servants' gate, which is creepy. Goes to the servants' gate. At that time, it was a little bit different layout than we have now. We've upgraded everything there, but it used to be you drive in, you turn immediate left on this asphalt that had some divots in it with water and all, and you just drive over and you just park your truck. He'd get out right there. Once you got out, was a trailer, one of the business trailers that they have.
Yeah.
He'd get out. He'd go to the trailer, go up the steps onto this landing. It's like a kind of a metal type landing. Open up the front door, which is in the middle of the trailer. So there's a middle door. He would go through the middle door, which he did, closes it. The door is painted black, the window, so that, nobody could look in at night or whatever.
Yeah.
So the window's painted black. He goes in, and then to the direct right is his office. And that was another door. So he opened that door, just sat down at his desk. He's exhausted. He goes, I didn't want to sleep. I just want to close my eyes because my eyes were hurting. They've been open like 24 hours already. I was just hammered. He said the computer was there. I shut the computer off, and I sit there, and I'm like, oh, God. And as he closes his eyes, he hears at the front door. And he's like, it's 2:30 at night.
Right.
You can't get into this location. If there's somebody there, if it's some homeless guy, if it's some killer, nobody's going to know that I've been sliced up or shot in the head, or I'm done. I don't want to answer the door.
Right.
Then he's going like, wait a minute, maybe it was a deer, because we get deer up there. Maybe a deer went up on the platform, but it knocked on the door.
Right. I didn't know deers knock, but
And then I had to remind him. So I was just like, so what did you do? He goes, I was scared restless, right? I was like, I'm not going to open the door, but I'll go over to the door. So he goes over to the front door. Remember, it's painted black, so he can't see out. But what he can see is mini blinds. But they're closed. But, even though mini blinds are closed, you can see right through those little slats, right? He sees, and now I'm asking him, I'm not leading him in any way. So I'm just like, okay. I'm not saying, well, what did you see? I'm just saying, I'm letting him tell the story because I don't want to lead him or get him off track. I said, okay, cool, okay. So I'm at that window. I said, okay. And I start to see like a glow on the other side, like it's coming through the little slats. I said, okay. So then I start to look through the slat. I said, okay. He goes, look, man, look. And now now I see goosebumps on his arms. He holds his arm out. And I said, I got you, man. I got you. He said, so I'm going to tell you what I saw. I said, okay. And he said, I'm barely look through those slats and I see it right there. I said, okay. And he goes, Clete, it was a stagecoach.
Oh, wow.
And I said, what? He goes, I can't use his language, but he said, I'm not kidding you. I'm telling you the truth. It was a stagecoach. And he said that had reins, had a horse at the front and reins that connected to the back end of the coach. And he said there were lights at the four corners at the top of the stagecoach that were like aimed upward. It was like a kind of a glow, like a hollow glow. And he said, with the lamp that was out there, I could literally see the wood on the stagecoach. It looked like an old barn type of wood.
Wow.
And he says, I'm staring at it and it starts to take off and it starts to roll away from him and goes up this little ramp, like not a ramp, but like a hill, a little goes up a little bit. And he's watching. And I said, well, David, how close do you think that was? He goes right to that bush. So it was like between 10 and 12 feet away from him. That's how close it was.
I don't know if you asked him this or he mentioned, but oh, there's a dang echo. Could he hear any noises from it?
He didn't say he heard any noise. I think he heard it roll away.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. And it went up this little hill. And I said, well, was there somebody on it who was driving it?
Right.
And he said, no. It was one horse with the reins that came back and hooked onto the stage. And it started up the hill. And he goes, I have to tell you, the lights from this stagecoach as it started up the hill, once you go up the hill from his trailer, it goes up inside the park toward what's called the gatehouse, which is, I had an office there for like 15 years, 18 years or so, toward the gatehouse, and then it curves to the left and then starts up toward the mansion. And he said the light from that stagecoach was so bright that he said if anybody was driving down what's called Doheny Road, which is right outside that gate, if anybody was driving down that road at night, remember it's 2:30, almost 3 a.m, he said they would have seen that park lit up. It was that bright. The whole park was lit up from the lights of this stagecoach. And he said he looked out the window and he saw it go up the road. It went up by the gatehouse, made a left turn, and was gone.
Wow.
Could no longer see it. And he said, he goes, look at me, look at my arms, look at my arms. I said, I got you. He goes, I swear to, I'm not lying. I said, David, you're one of many that I've talked to about this, about stories. And it's sometimes the book I have what I call a justification alert, because everybody, it's so hard to understand, so amazingly difficult to not only understand, but to feel comfortable in telling people to say, I swear to God, this is real. And so I saw that with him. I said, I totally believe you. I totally get it. It's incredible. He goes, man, I'll never come up here at night. If it gets dark, I'm out. I don't come around here. He goes, and at that time he said, I've never even told you're the only person I know. My wife doesn't even know this. I said, well, when it comes out in the book, she's going to go. He goes, yeah, I know. I'll have to deal with that. So that's pretty incredible. That's like, you tell me, what do you think it was? Wow. Rob, anybody, tell me, was that a slip in time? What is that from?
I mean, it sounds like a slip in time because, all that to be recreated there, the horse, the buggy. I mean, is the buggy a ghost? That sounds, when there's other inanimate objects involved like that, it makes me wonder if that's like a time slip. That's what it seems like, at least. Now, did he ever go out and look for like tracks or say anything about? No.
He said he made sure the door was locked. He sat in that and waited for this guy Victor to show up, who was his next gardener. And he said once he showed up, he peeked out the door, and he saw that Victor wasn't taken hostage. And he said, "Hey man," and they made coffee, and he didn't tell Victor. He just said, let's go. We got to get out there. So he never made reference to it again. And he also was talking about the fact that my question to him was, after he told me all this stuff, I said, okay, that's really good. Who knocked on your door and why?
Right.
And he just stared at me and goes, I don't know. I don't want to talk about this anymore. He was so done with this. He was so freaked out just talking about it again. But the question is like, why did they knock on the door? Was that so he would look and see them?
Yeah, that's what it seems like. See, that seems intelligent.
Yeah. And I have other stories in there where a noise is made so that this person looked around to see this frame of a painting fly off a cabinet. So it's like, do they make these noises to get your attention so you finally look and you go, holy crap, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, for it to be something residual, it shouldn't be knocking on the door of something that never existed there. It's a trailer.
Yeah, you have it. Exactly.
And
I don't know.
We got to go to our commercial break here, but I'm going to leave off on this when we'll come back and talk about more of the history and the murder mystery. But, it's interesting. You get all these people's stories. How many people like your friend there that have these experiences that just do not tell a single soul because it's just too crazy? You have to think so many more people. There's so many more stories you don't hear because people are like, people are going to think I'm crazy.
Yeah, well, I do have other stories that I put in there because they were somebody else told the story to me, but they had talked to the actual person. They would not. There's a guy who's a DA in I won't say what town it is out this way, that had he saw a ranger a woman being shoved down the stairs inside from the second floor landing, head over heels, could have died, and she got up, filed a report, and quit.
Wow!
And he was there with her. Yeah,
we'll leave it hanging there as we go to commercial break. That's a great place to leave off and come back. All right, guys, when we come back, we're going to be talking more with Clete Keith, author of Ghosts of Greystone, Beverly Hills. Like I said, you've definitely seen this mansion in movies. You might not know it, but you've seen it, and it's got a lot of history and a murder mystery. We're going to get to that and other deaths that have been there. Yay! All the darkness, ghosts, all that love. I haven't had a show like this in a while in a particular haunted location, so it's been a lot of fun. And we also have some audio recordings I definitely want to get to, and we will open up the phone lines when we come back from the short commercial break.
Into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.theparanormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope.
That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
The night is alive. Join us and take a walk on the weird side when you tune in to the Kingdom of Nye, hosted by Heather Wade, the finest in late night talk. Listen live free weeknights starting at 9 p.m. Pacific time at thekingdomofnye.com, talkstreamlive.com, and the Paranormal Radio app. Wanna take a ride?
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Nation magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Tired of school? Who was Joan of Arc?
Noah's wife?
Like to travel?
Let's go back into history. Let's reach out and touch someone.
Want to meet people in the past?
Put them in the Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden? Excellent! Execute them. Otis.
Then hitch a ride with George Carlin, Keanu Reeves, and Alex Winter in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure from Orion Pictures.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
I'm worried, Ray. It's getting crowded in there, and all my recent data points to something big on the horizon.
What do you mean, the big?
Well, let's say this Twinkie represents the normal amount of psychokinetic energy in the New York area. According to this morning's sample, it would be a Twinkie 35 feet long, weighing approximately 600 pounds.
That's a big Twinkie.
We could be on the verge of a fourfold cross rip, a PKE surge of incredible, even dangerous proportions.
We just had a visit from the Environmental Protection Agency. How's the grid holding up?
It's not good.
Tell them about the Twinkie.
What about the Twinkie?
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight, we're talking to the guest Clete Keith, author of Ghosts of Greystone, Beverly Hills. Like I said, this is a infamous mansion when it comes to film history, and so many films have been shot there that I guarantee you've at least gotten a glimpse of some part of this mansion in a movie before. The phone lines are open, but I might take a little bit before I get to the phone calls, because there's a lot more we want to get to. There's a whole murder mystery to this location, which you know I love, murder mysteries. So we're going to talk about that tonight. And we also have audio clips that he's going to share with us tonight. I think he's got about 9 of them from that he's recorded in the mansion. You know how much I love EVP, so I want to get to all that, but I will get to your phone calls here. Go ahead, feel free to call in, but you might hang in there until I get to your call. But let's go ahead and get back to our guest. All right, where did we leave off, Clete?
Hey, I was going to also tell you, I see all the promotional stuff that's really cool on the paranormal, and I actually I knew Bob Lazar. He was a friend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's like in UFO. I mean, you don't know how obsessed I've been with Bob Lazar since I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, that make him and you feel old, but yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if you were to go to YouTube and look up The Fool and put my name with it, you'll see a video I did. It's a film. It's 5 minutes long is all, and actually Bob was involved with that, and you'll understand what I mean when you see it. It did really well, but it was all over the place. But
really,
yeah, he was. Boy, we went through some. I went through some crazy stuff. Anyway.
That's a man. You can't drop a bomb like Bob Lazar. I mean, that's a question about
I mean,
that.
I see all these alien things. I'm going, oh dear God, help me. Why do I have to get involved with this stuff? It's so nuts. It's really crazy. Yeah.
But, Bob Lazar's story is crazy, and I've been a big believer in his incident. What he said all these years later, he still sticks with it, and I love the documentary they did a couple years ago on him. So
no, it's true. Everything he said is real. I know it is.
That's awesome,
fact, and it's the real deal, and he is the real deal. Yeah.
Do you still talk to him?
I haven't talked to him in a long time.
Oh darn.
Yeah. No.
Anyways,
I haven't talked to him in a long time. He just got away from all that stuff. He moved several times. Now he's in Michigan.
I know.
And I don't, you know what? I had some weird things happening with government stuff like that. And I don't want to go through that again. Just mentioning his name gives me the creeps because, whoever's listening or what have you, I don't want to even talk about it because it got really weird. It got weird. It got very weird.
I had a helicopter buzz my house after talking to one of my friends.
Well,
that was an abductee.
Yeah.
So I know the feeling. All right, back to Greystone.
Yes, sir. Here we go.
So we were talking about the time slips and the stories. I don't want to run out of time tonight. I want to get into the history of, especially with Ned Doheny and Hugh Plunkett and the murder suicide.
Yeah. So what has been said about that is it was prompted by the Teapot Dome scandal. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, it's when it had to do with bribery. right? With the oil industry, them trying to get plots of land. Was that what it was?
Yeah. So the deal was, and I'll try to do this quickly as well. But Teapot Dome scandal was in the early 1930s, and it involved a man named Albert Fall. He was the Secretary of the Interior for the Harding administration, I believe. And he was friends with Edward L. Doheny. They had been friends, they played card stuff together, all buddies. And also Harry Sinclair. I don't know if you have out by you, but Sinclair gas stations. We have a couple still
not
out
by
here.
me, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay. So Harry Sinclair, it's all about oil, just like you said.
Yeah.
So Albert Fall allowed Harry Sinclair to have access to Teapot Dome, Wyoming, which is an oil reserve, still is. And then he allowed Edward L. Doheny to have access to Elk Hills Reserve and Buena Vista reserves. And so there was no bidding between other companies, whether they had access. It was just like they were friends. He gave them access. It garnered Edward L. Doheny like $100 million over time.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's obviously, and that's back then. So Edward sent his son Ned and Hugh Plunkett, Ned's secretary. They've been friends for a long, long time. So basically, they were friends. Like I think he was like 17 or whatever. Hugh worked at a gas station. They became friends, and he hired him to oversee some of the banking, some of the property itself, the Greystone. And so the father said, I want you to go to New York. I want you to go in the bank, get out $100,000, put it in a satchel, and bring it to Albert Fall.
That's not good.
Right. So they did that. They got the money, brought it to Albert Fall. That was that. Done deal. Albert Fall later said it was a loan. It was a gift. Right. It was basically a bribe. So, we'll give you $100,000 if you just let us have access to that. I think what happened was Albert, who didn't have a ton of money, but now did, started to live a little bit lavishly, and it was seen, and they're going like, they put it together and went, okay, something's happened to Albert. He's dancing.
Well, I'm sure the Rockefellers had something to do with, throwing suspicion on everything. I'm sure they weren't happy.
It's a good point. I've never heard that before. That could very well be true. They could have said, hey, look what's going on over there. We have a look at that one. So there was an inquiry. They started in a commission and the whole thing, and they found Albert Fall guilty of taking this bribe, loan, gift, and he was sentenced to a year in prison. And now they wanted to go after Edward L. Doheny because he was the one that was his money. But they thought what they would do is they go through Ned and Hugh, who brought the money, to get to the father.
To get like a plea bargain or something, at least
exactly,
out of them.
or get them to break at least.
Right.
Hugh, they felt, this is what I've read and heard, they felt was rather weak in that regard, that he might snap on the stand or spill the beans, so to say.
Yeah.
And so they were talking about bringing both of them to court and to depose them and see what they could find out. And so the pressure started mounting on Hugh and Ned, and they think that the family offered Hugh to go into a sanatorium and say it was because he used cocaine. Back then, they used cocaine for teeth problems, right?
Oh, well, they use cocaine in a lot of things. Coca-Cola. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Cocaine is health elixir.
Yeah. Cocaine is cocaine. So they ended up going after bringing them into court. And so Hugh, that night of February 16th, Hugh ended up going to the house. They think, and a friend of mine is Clark Fogg, who was the forensics specialist for Beverly Hills for like 30 some years. And by the way, he has a great book as well. His book is on all the murders that took place, and it's not really a paranormal book, but it's like all the murders that
more
took
true
place.
Crime.
Yeah. And like he lived 2 doors down from the Menendez brothers, right?
Oh wow!
Yeah. He literally lived 2 doors down, and he was the forensic guy. They called him up and said, "Hey, you want to go a couple doors down and find out what's going on over there?" And his stories are ridiculous. And it may be a thing that Clark and I are going to go on the road with Murders and Ghosts. He'll tell his stories, I'll tell mine, and it's really fascinating. So anyway, Clark said what he felt happened was that Hugh showed up. He had the keys. He got inside the house. He went up to what's called the gun room on the second floor, took out a gun, went down, and went to Ned to confront him about what was going on with the Teapot Dome scandal. And in that confrontation, Ned, look at it. Here's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is that Ned was shot in the temple, and he's dead inside what we called the murder room. When I worked there, we called the murder room, and the city was going, "Don't say the murder room. It's the South Guest Wing." We go, "Okay, you mean the murder room?" Yeah. Okay. So he was found dead. Hugh, as you can see in those photos it's in the book we sent to you, I think. He is outside that door. Laying dead.
Go ahead. One sec. Rob, I know sometimes you're having trouble with the photos tonight, but see, there is a photo in there of the actual murder scene. Discretion advised, viewers. This is a little bit graphic photo, but I am going to show it. Discretion advised. You'll find it in there. It should be. It actually should be titled it.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Should have it in there. Anyways, go ahead.
Okay. Regardless. There you go. Yeah.
Yep.
That's it. So right there, you can see that's Ned in the fore part of the photograph, and then Hugh is laying dead outside the door,
in like a doorway.
Yeah. So Ned, you can see all the blood on Ned's face there too.
Yeah.
It's a very bizarre case because they called the family doctor. He showed up. He said that Hugh confronted him. If you went to the right of the door where he was laying, there used to be another panel of doors there that he was standing there and said, "Get back!" And he had a gun and he went in and shot himself. So Ned's dead with a shot in the temple, and Hugh is dead with a shot in the temple of his head. And
I thought because I'm a little familiar with this case, I thought Hugh had the gunshot wound was what made it a mystery is that Hugh had the gunshot wound to the back of his head.
No, it's like in the temple. It's inside.
It was in the temple?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I had a conversation with not that I do this all the time, but a psychic woman that was supposed to be really great. And she may well be, but she said it didn't happen the way everybody thinks it did, that it was actually, she feels Lucy was involved, the wife. There's also a thing that they were lovers at one point.
Ned and Hugh.
And Hugh, yeah. This woman said that actually Ned was gay, but Hugh wasn't, but he went along with it because Ned had so much power and money, and who knows? You can come up with as many scenarios as you want. Bottom line is they're both laying there dead, as we see. And so after this took place, they then brought the father into court to try him because now his son was dead and the guy who also carried the money, and the jury acquitted the father for the bribery and all that, and they said because they felt so bad that his only son was now dead. And so you have a man in prison who took the money from Edward. Edward is not in prison. So the guy who gave him the money is out. The guy who took it is in. And that's where the term the Fall Guy came from. was Albert Fall. Yeah. So so that was the scene as we're looking at right now. And that room is active as well.
I bet.
Yeah, it's active. So we don't know what the true story is. Go ahead.
Oh, if I remember right. Oh, shit. Hopefully the echo goes away, but dang it. All right. Nope, still echo. Yeah, hold on. What I remember right from this, though, didn't some of the oddities? I mean, one, the wife called the doctor first before the police ever came, and then they saw Hugh, and he told them, or he like ducked in the room and said, "Don't come in here" or something like that, and then he shot himself.
Right. Yeah.
What seems odd is why I call the family doctor. You know,
Well,
like why
because,
not call the police when you hear a gunshot?
Right. And the police did show up, but they kept them at the gate for like an hour and a half. So what that allowed them to do is to move the bodies around and do it, place it however they wanted to make it look. They know that Ned was moved. You could see the blood in his face. He didn't just fall over and it drained out. There's blood in his face. Well, finally the doctor said, oh, no, I turned him over because he was gurgling. So I wanted to see if he was still alive. So I turned him over. That's how the blood got in his face. A lot of stuff didn't add up. The Lucy said that she was in the living room and she heard what she thought was 2 chairs had fallen over. Well, when they showed it in the LA Times, Los Angeles Times newspaper, they put the living room as far east as possible, which actually is the breakfast room, which is all the way down the hall. So it's quite a ways away. You'd never hear this. The living room actually is next door to the murder room here. So she
shouldn't even heard conversations.
Oh yeah, she was right there. So that's why they think that maybe she had a hand in it as well. And and this other psychic woman said that she did have a hand in it, and she was upset, and she came in and she was the one who shot Hugh. So I don't know. I've given up on that. And even Clark Fogg, the forensic guy, said that there's a book called Me Detective by a man named Leslie White. He came out and said, here's what happened. Here's how it worked. Well, this guy, he was fired by the LAPD anyway. He was trying to make himself look great, like he knew what was going on. And Clark said, who was the forensic guy, said, that's not how you would investigate this.
Right.
So how he said that how it went down probably was not how it went down. So we'll never know, Jason. We'll never know the truth of that night.
No, sadly not.
Yeah.
Now you've gotten to do investigations there, you know. Paranormal investigations. We do have some of the audio clips from that tonight. I want to make sure we get to. Do you want to talk a little bit about what has occurred on those investigations? Rob, go ahead and take that picture down too, because I don't want to leave up the murder scene the whole thing.
Yeah. Thank you, Rob. So, I've done a lot of investigations, and let me see. And through the investigations, we've had, I think, even aside from the investigations, people have seen apparitions there throughout the house of Ned, apparitions of Lucy. I don't think anybody's seen Hugh, but
Really?
I know that they're both there still because I got them, and we'll get into that with the sounds. I actually got them in the house saying their names, and it's the investigations would be from like a lot of investigations you see on Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, Death, whatever they have out there. With I did an incredible thing which I did not send you, but I had a conversation with a little girl that's in the house, and I did the flashlight thing, and it was astounding. And wow. We knew that she was in the house. She's been seen like 5 times running through the house, literally seeing running through the house. So.
I mean, besides Ned Doheny and Hugh Plunkett, other people have died there. You want to talk a little bit about that before we get into the investigations about the other deaths that occurred there?
Yeah. So there are so many apparitions and also black shadows and things which I know are not good, white shadows. But so you have Ned and Hugh who died in the house on that night. A little girl fell out a window in Lucy's room on the 2nd floor down to the terrace and died.
Oh, wow.
Or she fell off the recreation wing roof. And we always thought it was the window out of Lucy's room. But there are 2 stories in the book that surprised me because I talked to 2 separate different rangers who worked back in the 80s and I think early 90s. And both had stories of being up in what's known as the firehouse, which is right next to the main house off the east side, off the east courtyard. And this one guy, Glenn, showed up early morning. He worked a camp. They do a camp up there called Catskills. It's a kids' dramatic camp. And he showed up and parked there and went up to the second floor of the firehouse to get his clipboard and get things ready for the day for the kids. And when he came out on the landing of that building, that looks straight across to the recreation wing. And when he came out, he looks over and sees a little girl in a white dress standing on the top of the roof.
Ooh.
And he's like, what the hell? First of all, he goes, first of all, why is she on the roof? Secondly, how did she get up on the roof?
Right.
Third, why did the parents drop her off so early? The park isn't open. So he was really befuddled looking at him like, I don't get this. Well, okay. So he turns and he starts to walk down the stairs. So as he's walking down the stairs, he looks back. Now, if you're walking downstairs, it's going to lead you lower, right? Lower than the roof, lower than the roof as you go down. And he turned back and he sees her on the railing, and she just slips right off down into the courtyard. And he snaps, he panics, and is like, oh my God. He runs down the steps, runs into the courtyard, freaking out. He doesn't see her. Some of the other counselors show up. He goes, go around the other side of the building. Go over that side. I'm going to check this. She must have run over there. And they go, oh, okay. They run around, go to the other side. Maybe she ran up to the top parking lot. She's panicked. They go up there. There is no little girl. And he's like, and when he was telling me, he goes, Clete, you can't see this, but I got goosebumps. I still can't believe. He goes, you know what? Maybe that actually didn't happen. I said, what do you mean? Maybe I didn't see that. I said, oh, okay. So do you know what she was wearing, though? Yeah, it was a white dress. I said, well, then you did see it, didn't you?
You saw it.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I guess, yeah. Okay.
I mean, it sounds like you saw the replay of her death.
Well, that's my point. So we were told it was out of the terrace window, but then why did she show herself falling off that roof? And then she did it again to another woman who was with the camp on a different day, had a bunch of little kids out there painting and crayons and stuff out on that landing, and they just start screaming bloody murder. And she said, I was a lifeguard, so I know when people need help. When I hear that shrill freaking out, she goes, she runs out there and she's looking at these kids like, what's wrong? And the kids suddenly go silent. It is like, a freaky movie. They just go silent and they point to the top of that roof. And she's like, what? And then they finally broke down and said, a little girl fell off the roof. And she's like, oh my God, fell off the roof? Only to find out that her, partner who works the camp said later on, that happened to me too. Same thing.
Wow.
So, okay. So that's, and I'm sorry, I'm going so long on these things, but
that's all right.
One day they were doing a film scout. I walked inside, I'm standing there, all these people inside the mansion, and this woman breaks away from the scout and comes up to me, and I see her face, and I go, uh-oh, something happened to her. So I just said, hey, how are you doing?
You know the look.
Yeah, I know the look. And she comes up to me and says, can I ask you a question? I go, yeah, sure. She goes, is this place, And I go, no, I don't know. because I don't want to lead them at all, right?
Right.
And I said, no, I don't know. She goes, is this place haunted? I said, why do you ask? And she said, ever since I was a little girl, I could see, hear, feel, sense spirits. And she said, when I turned 15, I shut it down. I couldn't take it anymore. But when I walked in here today, I'm with the crew, and I look over, and this little girl runs at me and says, my name is Emily. It's Emily. My name is Emily. And she's looking at the little girl. She looks at the crew. They're not acknowledging her. And she's like, then I was in my head like, oh my God, it's happening again. So she walked around the corner. They were in the grand hall. She walked around this wall and said, okay, your name's Emily. I got that. But don't do this to me. Please stay with me. Don't do this to me. So she looks at me and says, so my question is this place haunted? I said, yes. Did a little girl die here? I said, yes. Was her name Emily? I said, we don't know. It's Emily. From that day on, whenever I went into the house, I'd say, Emily, it's Clete. Hi, honey. I'm here. Just want to say hello. Knowing that she's been seen, you don't want to hear all the stories, but she's been seen running through the house and this and that. And so I had one night, I brought, the mag light, the flashlight, and I brought a REM pod, and a couple other apparatuses, and I set them in. When you go inside the house, the grand entry, you turn right, you go up the staircase there to the right where this woman was shoved. We didn't talk about that. Shoved down the stairs. Then you go straight ahead to a corner there. There is a corner. And in that corner is a portal. And how do we know it's a portal? Well, Peter James, does that name ring?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Peter James showed up one day, and we said he had some friends. We said, we'll let you come in, but you cannot film anything because we'll get fired.
Right.
He goes, okay, I've heard about this place. I'd like to come in and check. Okay. So he came and he walks in. The first thing he does, he looks up in this corner and goes, are you aware you have a portal here? No.
I like your Peter James impression. It's pretty good.
Thank you. I just have, it's once in a while. I got to throw it out. So, so then, let's say 15 years later, do you know Chris? Oh God. Shoot. I can't think of it right now, but very
Another
well known.
medium?
Yeah. I'm thinking of another guy's name, but I can't say because he's a cop that is in the book that said, I don't want my name known, but I'll come there.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, no. Crap. Okay. Anyway, Chris came here, very well-known psychic, not that well-known, I guess, because I can't remember his name, but he showed up. I brought him inside. He walks in, he looks up there and says, do you know that we got a portal here? And I went, Peter James said the same thing. He goes, he was my mentor, by the way. I went, really?
Oh, wow.
So I'll think of his name. He's a great psychic. He's on Ghost Adventures, all this stuff, right? So, so then I brought in one night at 9:30 at night. I went in by myself, put down the flashlight, set it so it was off, set it in the floor, set the REM pod, all the stuff there, and said, and the whole point of it was I had purchased one of those like nanny cams.
Yeah.
And I put it in the center on this pedestal in the center of the second floor landing and faced it toward the portal. And this one you could I got the IT people in Beverly Hills finally came around and allowed me to get a VPN that I could tap into so I could use that from my apartment in Santa Monica.
May I interrupt one moment? Are you speaking of Chris Fleming?
Thank you. Where were you? I need you.
Kim in the chat room got it there. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, that's it. Chris Fleming. Great guy. Good friend of mine,
I just looked
actually.
on my friend. I had just looked on my list. I didn't see it in chat.
Oh, it's in chat too. So you both got it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. So, yeah, and he's a great guy. And he did an investigation there with me that changed my whole thought process about this house. And it was during the day. Tripped me out. Anyway, so I said, Emily, now that I have a camera in there and I could go home and look at it through my house and I could move it with my iPad, it goes up and down, spins all around, it's infrared, and I could speak through it, right? So I said, Emily, I brought you some things to play with, honey. I'm going to put them here on the floor. I'll show you how they work. And I'm going to set them right here. And you can play with them all night. And I'll come get them tomorrow, okay? Because I want you to have some fun. So I'm going to do that for you. And I'm going to talk to you later, okay? You have a great night. Closed, locked up, put the alarm on, left. I get home. I go on my iPad. And I go, holy moly. And I see that the flashlight's going on and off.
Oh, wow.
And so now remember, this is remote. This is what's interesting. Maybe from the other shows where you're standing right there. This is remote. There's nobody in the house. The alarm's on, except this little camera in there. So I say, and there's a delay when I speak. So from Santa Monica, I go, Emily, right in the house. And I said, turn it on one more time, please. Turn it on one more time, please. Boom, the light goes on.
Wow.
I go, thank you, honey. Thank you, honey. Could you turn it off now? You've got to turn it. There you go. Keep going. Just perfect. Perfect. Honey, how old are you? Are you 8, 9, 10, 11? Boom, light comes on. We thought she was 11 or 12. Okay, could you turn that off for me? You have to turn it down. Boom, light goes off. I had this conversation with her. I asked her about, does she have friends in the house? All this stuff. And it was astounding. And I got it on camera. So that was kind of cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So that's, okay. So you have, let's go back to the dead people, shall we? You have Ned, and you have Hugh, and you have Emily, and then there was a woman. Do you know Lisa Williams? She's a British psychic.
Yeah, I've heard
You've
of her. Yeah.
She is fabulous. She's really good. She showed up for a night. Nobody's ever done a show overnight because it's illegal in the city of Beverly Hills because people pay gazillions of dollars. So nobody wants noise or anything. So she came and she was able to do it because Merv Griffin, who lived in the Beverly Hills area, talked the city council into allowing him to do one show overnight, couple cameras with Lisa Williams because it was his show. She came in, she was awesome, and she went through the house and she started picking up on a lot of things. She was bang on. And at one point, she was in the kitchen and she said, "Oh my God, my stomach hurts so much. I'm sick to my stomach. It's like I'm going to throw up." And I was off camera just watching her.
Yeah.
And the guy was with her, had no clue. And he goes, "Well, I don't know what that is, but let's go over here." He missed the whole point. Once they stopped and they took a break, I took her outside because she said, "I was pregnant." That's what that was. I was pregnant. I said, "Wow, that's incredible, because do you know what you picked up on? A servant, a woman," this is basically one of two, by the way, Jason, one of two servant women got pregnant by, I'm not going to say who it is, but someone within the house.
Yeah.
Got pregnant. Not that man. Got pregnant. And so she hung herself in the house in what we used as our break room. Our break room was where she hung herself. And so she's still in the house. I know that for a fact. I even went in one morning by myself, early morning, took out my iPhone and said, "Why are you still here?" Because things were happening in our break room. This is the place where the thing was flying off the shelf. Yeah. The ranger ran out because it was like, he ran out and called me. And so I went in and said, why are you still here? Is it because you're afraid to find out what's going to happen to you when you pass over to the other side? And I played it back. And are you afraid because it's going to find out what's going to happen to you when you pass over this side? Yes. So they're not moving on because of what they did in their lifetime. They think maybe it's a sin or what happened. Remember, it was a big Catholic family. So this woman got pregnant and out of wedlock with a man that she didn't know. And it was a bad scene. So there's another one. And then there's more. And then
wait, there's more.
There was another servant woman was pregnant, and she went into the meat locker and slit her wrists.
Ooh.
And she went in there and did it in there because she didn't want her friends to have to clean up after. There was a drain in this locker. And we thought that might be folklore, ranger folklore passed down to us. Until one day, an older woman showed up and talked to my friend Steve Clark, who's all throughout the book, who had so many things happen to him because he has the gift. And she said, "Is there any way I can get inside the house?" And Steve said, "No, it's closed to the public, but you can look at it from the outside." And she goes, "Oh, that's really too bad." She said, "A friend of my mother's used to work here, and she killed herself inside the meat locker."
Oh, there's your confirmation.
Yeah, and Steve's like, "Oh, that's real?" She goes, "Oh, honey, it's real." So we know that happened. Clark Fogg told me of a triangle that was taking place there that he found the documents on that took place inside the servants' wing where one of the women was choked to death. And was put in a rug and wrapped up in a rug and taken out the servants' wing and dumped someplace. So there's another one. And there was also, we think somebody was killed down the basement. We think there was a fight and a killing down the basement. But also in 2003, when I was working there, I got a call that somebody just shot themselves at Greystone. And I said, "What?" And this is my friend Brandy who's working, and she goes, "You got to get back here." I said, "Okay." I came back. I went up the back. It was already taped off by the police. They'd been there. I went up the back route, and went over there and stood and watched. Little did I know Clark Fogg, who's now a very good friend of mine, he was working this murder or this suicide. And this man sat by the willow pond right outside there and shot half his head off and was despondent. He had cancer, was despondent. He loved Greystone. So why not? What better place? So I saw him sitting there, and I think he's still there because we see a dark shadow that has gone, that's out by that willow pond that flies by and stuff like that. So that's pretty crazy too.
It makes me wonder about places like that. Oh, there's ding echo. Hopefully it goes away.
Mm.
All right. What makes me dang it, echo. Hold on. What makes me wonder about places like that is like the suicide forest in Japan, and I've investigated locations that have had multiple suicides. Do these places attract that? Is there something there like I've heard suicide demons and something that fosters this or that attracts that energy of people wanting to end their life there? It's odd.
It's a good point. And like, listen, there is a demon in that house, and I don't talk to that now that I'm telling you, but I don't really get into that because, remember, the city doesn't want to promote. They're trying to have weddings there, maybe a bullet point presentation within the home for a company, and I'm saying there's a demon, run. So, but I know there is a demon in that house. I've heard it. So, and so is my friend Steve, and the city is before I left, one of the things they had me do was to do work for weddings and have people. I'm the wrong guy for that. So it's like, why would I ever do that when I know all this stuff? And the woman who was running that division, who was my boss at that time, who's still there, her name is Sarah. She says, "Look, you've got to do this for me. Do not mention ghosts or anything like that, please." Of course I would. Well, I would walk around with the bride and groom. They say, "What do you do here usually?" I go, "Well, it's just, you can do the wedding there." I'm trying not to say anything. And so at one point, this one couple said, "Has there been any ghosts here or anything?" Now, what am I supposed to say? Do I tell this couple the truth? Because legally, I feel like I should. They asked. Right? So that's how I felt. And I said, "Well, you're asking me, right?" And she goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, why did
remember that
when we're in court?
Yeah.
Why do you want to know that?" And she said, "Because we dig that stuff." I said, "Yes, there were murders here." So I just jumped in because they were into. She goes, "One of the reasons we want to get married here is because we know about the murders." I said, "Okay, well, it's true that there were murders here." Another couple said, "Is there anything weird about this place?" And I said, "How about what's the definition of weird? I mean, what are we talking about here?" And she goes, I said, "Look, I'll tell you what. Legally, I feel like I should tell you. So this is just me, but you cannot say anything to, especially my boss, I'll be fired. So legally, I feel like you should know that there were some murders here, some deaths." And she goes, "You're kidding me." I go, "No, you asked me what am." So she said, "When?" I said, "Well, it happened in 1929. She goes, "Oh, that's a long time ago. Don't worry about it." I'm going like, that's where I left it. There is no time on the other side. You're in trouble if you have a wedding here. It's not really true. I mean, a lot of weddings have come and gone and do great, but there have been weddings, there have been events that have taken place where some freaky things have happened. So, you're rolling the dice when you go in there because they're not going to go away. It will stay there. And by the way, I have to tell you one thing, Jason.
Yeah.
When the guy shot himself at the willow pond, he's still sitting on the bench. He has half a head. It was really, really hot summer day, right? He's sitting there. He left his, it was really sad. And he left a note in a Ziploc bag so that it wouldn't get blood all over, so you'd still read it. And when the police came, they went, "Oh my God, go to his house, find out." They got his wallet. Did he kill his wife? They have to go through all that stuff.
Yeah.
But what happened that day was when he sat down, took the gun out, it's the day where we had the kids' camp. So he's sitting there on the bench. He pulls the gun out and he fires the gun, takes half his head off. His car's driving up the road right next to it. She goes up for the camp. She goes up to the top of the camp, goes to the counselors. Her daughter's in there for the camp. She says, "Get out, honey, get out. Somebody just shot themselves in the head. I'm late for work. I got to go."
What?
Yes, exactly. I mean, only in Beverly Hills. Can you imagine sending your child out after somebody just shot themselves? You don't know what the hell's, you just saw this. And she said, "I'm late for work. I got to go."
Priorities, huh?
There you go. There you have it. So that's a kind of an overall view of the spirits that we know deaths have taken place at that location. Now, this other thing that's in there that Chris Fleming looked at me one day when we were in there, and he looks at me and goes, "You've got a demon in here," and I never say that. So there is a demon within that house, along with these other spirits that were either committed suicide, killed, and don't want to cross over. Some they say, go back sometime to the time where they feel they have work to be done still. There's been a woman who works in the kitchen they've seen, who's going back and forth from the breakfast room to the dining room because she's busy. She has work to do. So there are those apparitions as well, along with Lucy has been seen as a full apparition, and Ned, and it goes on. The list goes on, my friend. So,
yeah, and like you said, there's deaths that have happened there that you guys don't even know, that might not have been documented of any way.
Absolutely.
So much history there. And when it comes to like something like the demonic, from my understanding of, in my theories on it, these things are like parasites. They're attracted to this negative energy.
Yep.
And it just like, it's just like a big pile of it. They just keep piling on, more deaths, more negative. You really should go check out BBC. If you have HBO Max, it's on there. The BBC's Ghosts show.
Okay.
It reminds me a lot of even though it's in England and it's its own mansion, it reminds me a lot of stuff you're talking about, the stuff these people are trying to renovate this house and turn it. First, they try to turn it into a bed and breakfast, and then they end up like that doesn't work because people find out it's haunted or think it's haunted, and then they think they're faking it. And then they end up trying to do a weddings and stuff there, and that's all they can do because it costs so much to renovate it.
Yeah,
and it just reminds me a lot of what you're talking about. And it's just funny because it's a comedy, but the ghosts are hilarious, and it makes you wonder what it's like on the other side. The sad part about it is, you have these suicides, death. I always think Emily. That's the part that always bothers me as a paranormal investigator is the children ghost. Like if it was just residual, people seeing her residual death, okay, but she ran up to that one person who had the medium abilities and said, "My name's Emily." This shows right there. She's there.
It's brutal. And I even said in that little session that I had with her, I said, "Do you want to leave?"
Yeah.
Light didn't come on. "I can help you get out. I'll find somebody to help you, honey, if you want to leave."
Yeah.
Light did not come on. She doesn't want to go. Listen, maybe she still thinks her parents are going to come get her.
Right.
I don't know. And I do hate that because had she said yes, I would have found somebody to come in and take her out. But I don't want to come in and take her out if she doesn't want to go. I don't know what, I just kind of
right. I always say that's dangerous ground for people. Yeah. Some people are like, "Oh, we just cross them over." I'm like, you don't know what you're messing with. You don't know who you're crossing over if they want to go. You don't know what you're messing with, what you're sending them to. Be very careful when you step onto that ground. We do got a phone call I want to get to here. Somebody's calling in here. Let me see. We got somebody on the sideline number. Who do we got?
Hi, Jason. It's Zariana. How you doing tonight?
How you doing tonight, Zariana? You got a question for our guest?
Yes, I do. He piqued my fancy when he said about the demonic at the house. Mm-hmm. So my question is this demonic evil, whatever you might want to call it, is it keeping them there? Is it influencing? Well, it seems to be influencing, suicides, accidents, things like that. So would there be any way to take care of it, cleanse it, get rid of it? Well, or will they always be?
It's a good question. Was there paranormal activity prior to them moving into the home in 28?
It's a good question.
Right? Was that already on the land? Did it influence the murder of Ned and Hugh and get them crazy to kill each other? Nobody knows that I could find how it how it affected Lucy, the wife. And then she later married this other guy who came in. Did they see anything or not? I mean, how
Right.
could it be that they move out and the place goes nuts? I don't know. I would think that there'd be some kind of residual that Ned and Hugh were still there. I know they're still there. So did she see the apparition of Ned come in her room and see her? It's a good question. I will say that the demon came from elsewhere. I was told by Chris Fleming that the demon comes and goes through the portal.
Yeah.
So, and when it does come inside there, he said it stays, it's in the attic and it's in the basement. And one of the stories, I took one of the rangers in, Ranger Chan, who was a very good friend of mine. I had to take him in to ask him again about what happened to him up in the attic. And you know, it's in the one of the sounds. So I'm not going to get into it. We'll talk about that later. But there is a demon in the attic, and there's a demon in the basement. It's the same one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
For sure.
thank you, Azariana, for calling in.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
You too.
Bye-bye.
See, one of the things I've always theorized, funeral homes seem to always, end up having activity, even though nobody technically died there. The bodies are just brought there. Yeah. Hospitals where people do die have a lot of activity. I grew up in one. My mom worked in a hospital for 17 years. I was over 100 years old. They're tearing it down right now, actually. I lived across the street from it, and I saw faces. I swear, me and my wife both saw the glowing faces coming through our wall, and it was the wall that pointed right at the hospital. That house right next to it was really haunted. Death, when somebody dies, if they go to another place or whatever, I think it opens up a doorway, and that's where a lot of these portals come from. Is a doorway that didn't close from somebody's death, and other things get through.
Well, think about it then. Well, you have Ned and Hugh, but was that demon there prior to that? I think it showed up when that horrible energy was placed within that home.
It.
Yeah.
I do. I think they're parasitic. They are attracted to the negative energy.
Yeah.
It opens up the doorway.
Yeah, and when you mentioned something of a hospital, I'll tell you a real quick story. My mom was an actress, and she was in the Motion Picture Television Fund home out in Woodland Hills, where a lot of famous actors, when they get older and older, they have a place to go, right? They have a little room, a place to stay. So when we put her there, her roommate at the beginning of her stay was the mother of a famous actor who's still acting today. I'm not going to say his name. But she was her roommate. Eventually, my mom got her own room. And I showed up one day, and the nurses were scurrying around. I said, "What's going on?" They said this woman had died. And I said, "Did you get a hold of this actor?" They said, "Yeah, he's on his way." I said, "Okay." And the nurse at the front, at the desk, they have like a desk in the middle of the room where they have the phone. They take the calls from the room. She's just like, I could tell she was freaked out. I said, "This is before I was into any kind of paranormal stuff." I said, what's going on? She goes, "I keep getting a call from her bed."
Oh.
And I said, "Oh." She goes, "We had the telephone guy come out and check it, and there's nothing wrong with the phones." I said, "Well, you know what that is, right?" She goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you know who's calling you." She goes, Don't. Please don't say that to me." I said, okay, I'm sorry. I walked into the room. I said her name, and I said, "Honey, you've passed. So you're out of the body now. But if you look in that corner over there, you're going to find a light. Go to that light. It will take you to where you're supposed to go. Okay? We love you. Thank you so much." And went back. She never called again. It was done.
Wow. Did you just do that instinctively, or
Yeah, I did. I mean, I'd heard things on shows and stuff like that, but and eventually, I would say 15 years later, it was 2000. I don't know, 2000. About maybe 15 years later, I went to see a play. I'm a playwright, and I wrote a play, and I went to see this play, and this actor was there because he's a friend of the guy who owns the theater. And I went up to him. I said, "Hey, do you remember me?" "Oh my God, how are you?" Because he remembered me from that. And I said, "There's something I've never told you about your mom." He's like, "You're kidding me." I said, "No." And I told him that story. And he had like tears in his eyes. He goes, "My God, thank you for telling me that. That's incredible." I said, "It's real. That actually happened." He goes, "Wow, that's crazy." You know, he was like blown away by it. So it's real. It's all real.
Oh yeah, I believe it. Like I said, I've always had this theory that when people pass on, because I've had people, you have a house and somebody passed away, a normal passing, no murder, no death, nothing negative, but then other stuff starts happening, and sometimes I wonder it's because that person passed on, the doorway opens, but it wasn't closed.
Yeah.
But I think the more negative experiences definitely leave like a scar or leave that open doorway to attract things like the demonic.
I think so too. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I think so. Especially this place, man. Boy, talk about leaving the door open. Good Lord.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what happens over the years is just more and more and more and more stuff happens and more negative. It just attracts. It attracted this guy in 2003 to come. Why there? He liked the mansion. It's like it just keeps imploding in itself like a black hole, sucking everything in to it.
And that demon can't wait to scare people. Can't wait to get its not that it has claws, but it's like can't wait to get into you to scare the hell out of you. And it's done that, especially with Steve, my buddy Steve. It really, really shook him to the core, man. That was a horrible night.
We might have to talk about that when we come back, because when we come back, I know we had the one phone call. I don't know if I'm taking more calls, because when we come back from the commercial break, we're going to go to here in a second. I really want to do these audio clips, and so I'll have to shut down at least one of the phone lines to do it. But these instances, all these stories, this is why I love having a show just on one particular location like this, with the history and the instances that people have seen. I mean, I'm sure you got ghost stories of people seeing Ned, seeing these physical apparitions there. Yep. There's just so much different. It's like you said, it's like a paranormal Disneyland. There's just so many different things going on there. Time slips and, the ghost. I mean, what's sad is that, it's there, but it would love to see like a really thorough, like full-fledged, weeks on end investigation to just look into the different factors of what makes stuff happen. Like to me, that would be one of the perfect locations for it. Well, like a ongoing paranormal, investigation.
Yeah. And the best we've done is overnight. That's it. And Rob Ledarsky was the guy. I mean, I've done by myself with maybe another ranger, but Rob Ledarsky comes in with a ton of equipment with his crew, and they go through the whole place, and they do a really great job of it. And he has done a really exquisite job at documenting everything. He's really good. So
well. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into what you've done on investigations. We're going to go to our last commercial break now. And we come back, like I said, I don't know. I think I'll have one of the phone lines open. The 219-230-4444 might be down, but the Skype line for J Bland 00 should be open on that line, or Paranormal Soup J Bland. You can try calling in on those. I think the other lines will be down, like the 219-230-4444, because I'll be playing audio on that. But we'll come back, and we're going to listen to some EVP Spirit Box stuff that he's recorded at Greystone Mansion. That's Ghosts of Greystone, Beverly Hills is the book. When we come back, we're going to keep on talking about the ghost.
Intercepted transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated. I will hear it.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and InterfaceDeath.net. InterfaceDeath.net.
This is an APAC studio presentation.
Hi, I'm Barry, owner-operator of Barry's Barometer Barn. Lately, I bet you've been lying awake at night asking yourself, how many barometers do I really need? Well, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we think you need more than one. Otherwise, we're gonna go out of business. Remember, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we don't know the meaning of high-pressure sales. Come on, folks, buy another barometer. I'm trying to put my kids through college, I've got a family to support, and a secret mistress who isn't cheap.
Visit Barry's Barometer Barn, 000 Storm Drive. Come on, folks, buy a barometer. I'm Barry's older brother, Larry, and every time one of you people walk past the store without coming in, Barry beats me.
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
When Alex Gardner is asleep, he has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it, the scientists want it, but to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all, but he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
The night is alive. Join us and take a walk on the weird side when you tune in to the Kingdom of Nye, hosted by Heather Wade, the finest in late night talk. Listen live free weeknights starting at 9 p.m. Pacific time at thekingdomofnye.com, talkstreamlive.com, and the Paranormal Radio app. Wanna take a ride?
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Heat 'em up. Do, re, Egon.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419, or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is Clete Keith. He's author of Ghosts of Greystone, Beverly Hills. This is a very old mansion in Beverly Hills that has been featured in a ton of movies we've been talking about tonight. Tonight we're going to get to some of the evidence he's got audio-wise. I've been excited to play that, so we got a lot to get to. The phone lines are open. Like I said, I think the the J Bland Paranormal Soup line should be open. No, it's the J Bland line. I believe that Skype line's open. Try calling in. We'll see if we can get your phone calls if you want, but I do want to get to this audio, so let's go ahead and get back to the show. All right, so let's start out there. You have these files you sent me here. We have 9 audio files. I don't know where you want to start with that.
Well, why don't we just pick one? We can start. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just let me know what it says so I know which one we're doing, if you would.
Well, I got National Treasure.
Okay.
You want to start with that one?
Yeah, we can start with that one. Now I can set it up and not tell you what it's going to be. Just set it up, though, if you'd like. Or we could just listen to it.
Go ahead and set it up and tell us what we're about to listen to.
Okay, so A National Treasure 2 was shot at Greystone. And on that night, after having filmed all day, Peter Devlin, who is a Academy Award nominated sound mixer, he set his cart with all the recording equipment. He set it up in the portal. Now, he didn't know he set it up in the portal.
Right.
He just put it up in the corner there, and it was in the portal. And so he left it on all night because he wanted to hear maybe some creaking sounds or whatever he could get on that. Not like thinking it's paranormal, but just what he could gather and maybe use it someday. And so he set it up. He left. We found out later on that the Rangers came in, and when they were locking up for that night, they looked over and one of the Rangers said, "Hey, up in that second floor, there's a light on under that blanket thing." And he said, "You know what? Let's not touch it. It's not our equipment. Let it run, whatever that is." They let it go. Next morning came. I opened up. All the crew, everybody came in. They picked up their things and started their day. And Peter Devlin took his cart and rolled it into what we used to call Mr. Doheny's room. It's the master sitting room now. And he turned on his recorder, and I walked in. I saw him, and he looks over at me, and he's got that look, and I'm going like, "Uh-oh, something happened to this guy." And he goes, "Hey, did you have security here last night?" I said, "Yeah." And the place was locked up. And I said, "Yeah." I said, "What's the problem?" He goes, "I'll tell you the problem." And he put the headphones on me, and that's what you're going to hear.
All right. Cue here. Let me play it. Hopefully this comes all right. Wow. So that was nobody in the building.
Nobody in the building.
Let me play it one more time.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's pretty astounding. And so what I pretty much sure happened was at the top of that landing, everybody put their equipment there and then left for the night. So what I think took place was whatever spirit that was pissed with all the crap all over the place. So, and what you can't hear prior to that was you could hear footsteps coming up. It's not on that because we took it off because you could barely hear it. But having listened to it for all these years and having it, with the headphones and really listening to it, you can hear footsteps walking toward his recording equipment, and then the first sound you hear is like a bang, and then there's something that slides on the floor and hits the wall. That's the second bang, and what's sliding is it's like cardboard that they cover the floor with, so that if it's a really nice location, it's layout board it's called, and you put it all throughout the location and make sure that nobody scuffs the floor or whatever. Well, that has been picked up and thrown against the wall, and then the other two things that's bam, bam, that are cases, like film cases or whatever, are being shoved over. Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty astounding, and that's really loud. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah. You can hear it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was fun to get that, man. That was like, oh my God, we got some great stuff.
Next up, I got Gunshot 2 or Gunshot 3. Got two different ones that say Gunshot.
Okay, so the reason I have two different gunshot sounds, and we can discuss this, but I have two sounds, is they were recorded on probably different years even, right? And they're not the same sound. So it's not like it's a residual sound of the same sound. It's one is louder than the other. So, and is this, Jason, is this residual? Is this from the night of the murders? I don't know.
Right.
But have a listen.
All right. Here's number 2. It says. It sounds like a gunshot.
Okay. Now listen to the other. I'm sorry.
All right. All right. Now we're going to listen to the other one.
Listen to this one.
You can even hear the difference in the shot.
Yep.
Yeah. Here, one more time. I'll go compare the other one. It almost could be the same, but just from different
I thought
sounds.
that.
Yeah.
But the shot just seems
One
more
says
powerful.
2018, February 16th, and the other one says 2015. This one says 2015 here. But both in February recorded?
Whatever that date is, yeah. And also, if you think about it, if you hear as it plays, I wish I would have let it go longer, but you can hear the echo within the house. There's nothing inside that house. It's empty. There's no furniture stuff. So when you're talking in there, it echoes all. You can hear all the way through the house. This shot actually has an echo, so it must be within the house because there's an echo.
Right.
Was it recorded in the same spot? The recorder?
Yes. Good question. Yeah, it was. It was put on. Remember that pedestal I told you where I put the camera for Emily? Yeah. I would always put my recorder there because it's at the second floor landing, which is really active, and I would just sit there and hit record and walk out, and there you have. Then all of a sudden, I'm getting these gunshots.
Because that couldn't be residual then, because even if it was a distance thing, then the distance would sound the same in both.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, here we go. Now, it looks like you did some Spirit Box stuff. You got Spirit Box Ned and Spirit Box Hugh.
Okay, so I end up going in, a buddy of mine who's still there, Ranger Hernandez. He's a senior. He's the head honcho there. He and I are really great friends, and I purchased the Spirit Box, and I saw it on one of the shows. I think it was Ghost Adventures. And I went, come on, man, does this thing really work? I'll get it. Don't I was telling all my friends, don't judge me, please, when I buy this thing, but I just have to see if it works. So I bought the Spirit Box, and I had my little recorder, and I had a K2 meter. And so I gave the K2 meter to Dan. He held that, and he held the recorder as well. And the K2 meter was going nuts. Now, it was like one of the first times I ever used it, and I look at Dan, I go, dude, we got somebody here with us. I didn't know what I was saying. I didn't know if it was actually that's the way it worked. And he goes, are you serious? I go, I don't know. Look at the lights on the thing. It's going crazy. I said, get away from the wall. Maybe it's from that switch, the wall switch there. He gets away. I go, no. I said, we got somebody here, buddy. So we go into the living room, and I said, let me see how this thing works. So I'm doing that. Yeah. I'm turning it on, and suddenly it starts doing the thing. And I ask a question, and this is what you get. So you got two of them there. I don't know if you can stop one before the other, but just see what happens.
Yeah. All right.
What's your name? What's your name?
Well, you definitely hear the Ned.
I mean, that is clear, right? That's really clear.
And an answer to your question right away.
Exactly.
And right away.
Yeah, and that's why I know he's still in there. I look at Dan, and I go, did he just say Ned? He goes, I think so. And I go, wow, Ned, thank you. If that was you, would you say that again? And then we got this next one.
Is that you, Ned?
Oh, I hear it.
Is that you, Ned?
So
it's like it goes, it's Hugh.
Well, I think now, if you listen to it again, and this is what's crazy.
You can hear Ned.
There you go. Kim's right. So if you listen to it, because I'm saying, Ned, is that you? And you hear it's in a lower voice, like it's not as loud, but it's the same voice saying Ned. And then you hear in a different voice, Hugh.
I hear it one more time.
Is that you, Ned?
Yep, I hear that now.
Is that wild? And I didn't know that until like probably about 6 months ago when I was getting these ready for these podcasts, stuff like that. I said to my brother, I go, wait a minute. Ned says his name again. I never even heard that. I always heard the Hugh.
You got the validation you were asking for.
Absolutely. And so the bottom line is they're both in there. They're both still in that house.
Wow.
Pretty
wild.
wild.
I got this other one that says stay. August 11th, 2015.
Yeah, stay. Okay. Let me try to pull this together. Sorry, man. Stay. Let's play it, and then I'll give you the background because I
yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
I'm sorry. Oh, okay. So what this is they were shooting. There was a series called Stay, and this is one of the nights they had all their props and stuff within the house. I placed the recorder, left, and they're shoving over some kind of bottle or something that was on the set.
So that's what we're hearing. Play one more time. All right, so I want to get to the EVPs here too. We got an EVP Luz don't
lose. Okay,
Luz don't.
So this is a trippy one too. So this woman who is in the book, who has like 18 stories in the book. Her name is, I think it's Luz Rodriguez. Sweet, very cool person. She was a ranger back, I'm guessing, like in the maybe early 90s, late 90s. I don't know. But somebody said, you should talk to Luz. She was there for like 4 or 5 years. I think she has some stories. I said, really? So I called her and said, hey, this is Clete. I just missed you. Yeah, that's right. It was the late 90s. Late 90s. And so I said, would you come back to Greystone? And she goes, okay. So she came back with her daughter. And I said, look, I want you to lead me. Let's go inside the front door and you walk to wherever you can remember things happening. And it was unbelievable. It was so crazy. So she started walking, and when we got into the servants' wing, which is very active, she started to get emotional. Now she's walking next to me with her little daughter, and I look over and I see, she's almost ready to cry. And I didn't know what was going on. So she's trying to explain to me what she's feeling.
Right.
And then you're going to hear a voice come in. You're going to hear a voice come in that talks to us that we didn't hear. That was just on the recorder.
Yeah, it's the EVPs. That's what I love them.
If I get teary-eyed, it's just the energy.
Just hit again. Hold on.
If I get teary-eyed, it's just the energy.
Yeah.
It's right after she's like in between her speaking. It says,
yeah,
don't.
She says, when I get teary-eyed, and this voice says, don't.
If I get teary-eyed, it's just...
That's not us.
It's just the energy.
I backed it up. Hold on, right there.
I get teary-eyed, it's just the energy.
Right? And that's pretty clear.
You can hear it's like, don't.
Yeah. And when I was doing the translation for the book with all these recordings, I hear that and I go, wait. Who was that? And so after that, Jason, I don't think you have it, but after that, as she keeps talking, she takes another little break, and that same voice, and I don't think you have that, but that same voice, it sounds almost like possibly another language, or it's that same woman, and it sounds like Ennis House Brit. Now, I don't know what that means, if she's saying in this house, or if it's like a Swedish or something, Enes Hauptbit. So you can't hear that, but it's the same voice comes back in again. So it was still there with us.
Last two I have is one that says hello in kitchen and something with a CHNH. Wish I can't read.
Oh, yeah,
thing.
Chan. Okay, so the one we can go to, let's go to Chan first.
Okay.
And this is the one I started to talk about earlier. I took him up into the attic and said, let's go back over what you were feeling when you were at, because when I started telling him, asking him about things that had happened to him, he had quite a few stories. But when I took him up in the attic, he wanted to tell me that because up in the attic, there's a square that's in the floor that when you move the square, there is a handle that you can take out and lock it in, and you can lower or raise the chandelier at the grand entry. So that allows you to clean it because it's so far up. So he was telling me the story that when Steve Clark, his boss, said, hey, Chan, I want you to go up in the attic, lower that so I can clean and change the bulbs. He said, you got it. Chan had no clue. He goes up in the attic, gets out the thing, and lowers it down. But he said to me during my interview with him, he goes, Clete, when I started lowering it down, I had to stop and then turn toward the door that's in that room. He said, because I could feel there's an energy in that door, and I didn't want my back to it. I said, really? That happens to be the door where Chris Fleming and I went in, and he said there was a demon in there, and there was. And the demon actually said something in the recorder that was horrifying. But this is Chan telling me, and then as he's telling me about how he felt something there, somebody comes in and joins us. It's quiet, but you can hear it.
Okay, here we go.
Open the panel, put the...
Some like quiet?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what it is now you know. So he goes, go put in the panel and you'll hear the voice say, go ahead, get out. Listen to it again.
Open the panel, put the...
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
One more time.
Open the panel, put the...
Oh yeah, I hear that totally.
Yeah.
EVP game.
Yeah. And we didn't hear it. And then I played it back from him again. He's like, holy, why did you tell me that was going? I didn't know. How would I know that? Yeah.
I got somebody waiting on the phone line. I want to get their phone call.
Okay.
But I want to play this last one here. Hello in the kitchen.
Okay, so we had a night where Steve Clark, one of the Rangers, and myself, I had a guy who worked for the city. His name is Tim, and his brother Matt. Tim called me and said, hey, could we come in one night? Matt, who lives down San Diego, would just like to come in and see the place, whatever. And I said, you know what, we'll do an evening. Come on in. So we set up a card table in the center of the grand hall. We got some cigars. We got some whiskey, something that we thought they would drink.
Right.
And sat down and said, hey, Ned, Hugh, you can join us if you want. We're just going to sit here, maybe play some cards and just enjoy the evening. So we sat there and had the recorders going, didn't get anything on that. Finally, it's close to 12 or 1 o'clock at night. And I said, you know what, I'm getting tired. Why don't we let me take Matt through the house. Let's have a walk. Let's go to the kitchen and just walk through there. And then we'll go upstairs and do the rest of it. And Steve said, oh, okay. So as we're walking into the kitchen, I'm talking to Tim, who's saying to me, hey, that laser thing that you have is really cool that we use for ghost stuff. Steve is just walking with us, and Matt is behind us. So as we're walking into the kitchen, Matt's the only one who heard this. And he said, anyway, just play it. You'll hear it.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
So what you want to do, Steven? Well, I gotta tell you, man, I felt like there was some wind or air coming through the kitchen, cold air.
What was that noise just now? Like a hello? Was that you?
No. What's it gonna be on the recorder?
Like it's coming from over there.
Is there anybody here with us?
So
I heard it.
Yeah, when you first.
So what you want to do?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. When you first play it, after that is just us talking about it and Matt saying, "What did you just hear?" But when you first walk in, you're going to hear a hello and listen to the echo because this place is empty.
Right. All right. Yeah.
So what you want to do, Steven? Well, I gotta tell you, man, I felt like there was this, dude. Well, I gotta tell you.
And he's the only one that heard it.
Yeah. Well, I that's why I said, well, if we got it, it's on the recorder. I didn't hear anything. Did you, Steve? No, okay. And then when I went back to listen to it again, I went, holy moly, it actually, he was right. We didn't hear that.
Oh, yeah. I've had that experience on investigations where only one person hears it. It shows up in the recorder. We all should have heard it, but nobody else did but one person. But somehow they heard it. It ends up in the recorder, and it has echo, reverberation. Like, we all should have heard it, you know?
Yeah,
and it's like, how does that work?
Yeah, it was loud, too.
I'm going to get to this phone call before we run out of time. We got Zach on the line. Thanks for hanging in there, bud. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How was your Easter?
It was good. It was good. Started remodeling my kitchen. Fun stuff.
There you go. All right, so I just have one question tonight. Hey, Clete, very nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you.
So my question to you is, with all of the uses that the house has gone through, from use on weddings and filming sets and all this, based on your experiences, have the spirits had a positive or a negative reception to all the attention that the location has gotten?
Wow, that's a good question, Zach. I don't think it's really affected the spirits in any way, except for there are sometimes they don't want people in the house. So if you're doing an event and they want you out, they'll make that known. Now, we had another time, Zach, where Steve Clark, the ranger, we had the Prince and Princess of Monaco doing an event at the mansion. Big to-do, security, all this stuff. And that went on till probably 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Everybody cleared out. Steve was by himself. He started to lock it up. When he drove away, started to leave, he went, oh my God, I forgot. He had his lunch box that he put all his lunch in for the day, and he had to get it to get it ready for the next day. So he parked in what's known as the East Courtyard. He goes into the servant's wing door, and when he walks inside the door, remember, it's empty, there's nobody left. He walks inside the door, he hears two guys talking to each other. I go, oh, are you real? Yeah, me. What is that about? And he's like, there are people in the house. I thought I got everybody out. Somebody broke in. He backs out of the house, gets his radio, and calls to the police and says, I think we've got somebody in this house. I need somebody over here. He goes back in the house, and now he said, and it was dark. He goes, I don't know why I didn't bring my flashlight. It's really dark in there, Jason. It's really horrifying.
Yeah,
he goes in the house, and now this one guy is singing. And I said, what was he singing? He goes, it was like a probably a 20s old. It wasn't like anything of the modern day. It was just like, he's just singing some old tune. The cops show up. They go inside. He goes, I swear, and they go, okay, we'll branch out. They all branch out. Nothing is found. And the one cop said to Steve, so what did you hear? He goes, I came in, two guys were talking in there. And he said, they were talking in the dark. And he said, yeah. He goes, why would anybody be talking in the dark? He goes, I don't know. That's your job. Right? Right? And they thought he was full of it, and they just left, and they never did find anything. So on that night, big to-do, these guys were singing, and they had a great time with it. Other nights, they're not so happy, and they want you out.
That's when they mess with the equipment. Well, thanks for calling in, Zach.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, Zach.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lee, for answering my question, man. I greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And trust me, if I was a spirit and you had whiskey and cigars, I definitely would be there.
That would be like the perfect thing to bring Zach from all the way from Arizona.
Aha. Okay, man.
All right. Thanks, Zach.
Have a good night, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting though. Like, that they were having a good time, or or singing or whatever because of this big festival or party.
Yeah.
But how they react to what events and what things make them mad. I'm sure they weren't. Doheny, if he's there, isn't happy with when Hollywood was destroying the house.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he was pissed off. We know that. So he was dumping things over but another example of this, Jason, is my friend Steve, the guy who he has the ability, I think, to sense things, but he doesn't want the ability. He doesn't want anything to do with it. There's a woman named Mary Nichols who was taking photos at the house for, she would do it for Architectural Digest. She's incredible.
Yeah.
And so she was just Mary and her lighting guy. And they were down in the first floor doing the last shots. And she said she had a horrible day, that her camera was freezing. The batteries were being drained. And she said, honestly, whenever she would finish those design shows, she was shooting a design show that we did. Whenever we did the design show, she was hoping that we wouldn't call her to do these photos, because she goes, I just don't like it there. And horrible things take place. I don't like it. So she's finishing up. Steve Clark says, I'm going to go down the basement and start to shut off all the lights, because back then there were these huge switches that you had to push and pull to shut off all the electricity in the house. As he goes down, and I brought him back to Greystone to tell his stories, and he had a lot. But when we got down to that basement, to see his face and see him relive this incident, I could tell it still affects him today. So we went down to the door. He went down to the door and he opens the door, gets his keys out, because there's a metal gate at this door. You open the door, there's a metal gate. There's a chain, a big thick chain on it that you have to unlock the lock to open that gate up and to get down in the basement. He opens the door, starts to get his keys out, and he hears what he said was a scream growl. And he said it wasn't human, but it wasn't animal. It was horrifying. And he said that Rob Ledarsky used to say to him, if something happens to you and it kind of it spins your world a little bit, try to calm yourself and verify. See if it'll do it again, because maybe it was not anything. So Steve had the nerve to stand there in the dark, down in the basement, and say, if someone's here, do that again. And then it goes,
he's brave.
It was even louder and screamed at him. When he told me the story, I could see the blood drain from his face, and he's staring at me. He was saying some words I can't use, but he was just like, I'm not kidding. And I go, I got you, man. He ran up the stairs to Mary, who's getting the final photos, and he comes up to her. He's like, were you down the basement? You were down the basement. He snapped. And Steve is like, he runs the whole gig there, and he snapped. And she goes, my God, Steve, what's wrong with you? Were you down? He points at the lighting guy. You were down there. No, we just been shooting up. He goes, I can't believe there's some. Get out, everybody out. She goes, okay, we're leaving. So I lived close by at that woman's house. He called me. I was literally 3 minutes away. I jammed over there, and he's shaking. I said, Stephen, let's go back in. No. Okay, wait. Let's go back and go down to the basement. I'll be there with you. Let's go down to the basement, and I want to see if he's there. He didn't want to do it. I got him to go. We went down to the basement, and I said, you scared my friend, scare me. Come on. You wanted to scare my friend? Now you can scare me. Nothing happened. And he goes, I swear. I go, I know. That sound, I kind of caught that sound, Jason, on a recording that you don't have.
Darn.
But it's a recording that I put my recorder in at night, just on a whim. Put it in at night, and I hear a little girl, which could have been Emily, going, that's right back. Then his,
oh my God.
It is so horrifying. It goes for 8 minutes.
Oh my God.
It's crazy, man. And when I played it for Chris Fleming, thank you, Kim. When I played it for Chris Fleming, he said, that's the same guy that's up in the attic is the same one that's down the basement. That's your demon.
Oh man, I'd love to hear 8-minute EVP recording. I'd love to hear that. As an EVP
wild.
enthusiast, I would love to hear that, because those are rare. They're like gold in the EVP world to get that long. Wow.
Yeah, Chris Fleming has looked at me. He goes like, I cannot believe you got this, man. This is crazy. I just happened to put it there the night that everything was happening. And when Chris Fleming and I went in the attic, he said, you've got a demon in here. I said, great. I have to work there, And so then we walked inside this attic area into this other door. And he says, I know you're in here. And he says, you're not human, are you? No, you're not human. But I know that you're in here. Now that I know that you know that I'm in here, that you're in here, he just kind of called it out.
Yeah.
And when we played it back, it said, basically, a-hole screamed at us, right? So, and I looked at him, and I have that recording somewhere too. And that's the real deal. I mean, he looked at me, the way he looked at me scared me more than the damn recording. Because he's like, oh my God. I said, okay, I'm done. Let's go. Let's get out of here. And so, one last thing, the woman that was with him was also psychic. She turns on her recorder. I'm trying to get him out because I'm freaking out. And she goes, well, then you must take Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. I go, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't poke the beast.
Yeah, exactly. And she plays it back, and it's like, it's the F word, screaming.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my God. Crazy. Crazy.
So much more. See, I told you time would go by fast. We're past the end of the show. It has been a pleasure, Clete, to have you on. I want to make sure the website, ghostofgreystone.com.
ghostofgreystone.com. And the book is 520 pages. And if you get it from our website, ghostofgreystone.com, I'll sign it, get a couple extra little gifts. We'll ship it to you for free. Or you can go to Amazon, get it there, or get the ebook, or get the audio book, which is now out.
Awesome. Yeah, okay. I can't wait to read the rest of it because, there's so many stories. I love all these stories. I haven't had a good show like this on a haunted location, so thank you so much for being on the show.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, that's it for the show tonight. We will be back next week with guest Mike Anthony, author of Love, Dad, How My Father Died Then Told Me He Didn't. We're going to talk about his personal experiences, how he was convinced that the paranormal and spirits are real when his father passed on. Next Sunday, same bad time, same bad channel, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Central, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Specific time. Check us out on Paranormal Soup on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Now we're on Twitch, and we're also on the Paranormal Talkstream live radio app. You can listen to us every Sunday night. Thank you to all the people who donate on our Patreon, and thanks to everyone who shares the show out. Keep telling people about Paranormal Soup. Open forum, place to talk, and no judgments at all about your paranormal experiences. All right, guys, have a great night. See you next week.